created everything. Look what a powerful being you are. You did these things, but now you're in a human body, you forget the power you have.
Welcome to Metamystics, where you don't know what you don't know. My name's Jonathan, and tonight we have a very special person in my life who is joining us for the very first time. Welcome to the show, my brother, Cody.
What's going on, guys? This is Cody Codester. I appreciate being here with y'all, and let's go on this journey together, man.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Yes, awesome. I love the spunk about it. So he's, and I don't mean that as a euphemism, like he's actually my blood brother. So I just want to throw it out there so everybody knows I've brought Cody up in the past, and now he's finally here. We are going to go deep. Actually, we're going to be going into a little bit of Rudolph Steiner. So for those who have been listening over the past few weeks, been getting a lot into Rosicrucianism, a lot into theosophy, Helena Blavatsky, and tonight we're going to get into another theosophical leader, which is Rudolph Steiner. And what's really interesting is that Rosicrucianism was essentially, it was always like an amalgamation of all mystical esoteric thought dating back to pre-Egyptian times. Like that's what the Rosicrucians kind of claim. They don't say that it's always been called the Rosicrucians, but it's the mysteries that eventually led into the name of the Rosicrucians. That's what it's called now. And for those who have been listening for the past 3 or 4 months, you know that I joined the Rosicrucians, and I said that whenever you join the Rosicrucians, it actually gives you it brings you to a fork in the road. So you can choose one of two ways as far as how do you want to learn about the Rosicrucians. You can learn it through Eastern mysticism or Western mysticism. Eastern mysticism meaning Egyptian, Indian, Asian, and implementing all of those philosophies and kind of magic and all of that wisdom. That would be the one that I signed up for, just because I love Eastern philosophy like more than anything. Like I can get down with some Hinduism, some Buddhism, Taoism. I love all the Egyptian stuff, so that's why I decided to go that route. However, what happened is that then created a fork in the road, and I'm not sure if Rudolph Steiner was the first person to do this, but Rudolph Steiner looked at theosophy. He was one of the first big names in theosophy. And a lot of this Rosicrucianism and theosophy, they go kind of hand in hand. They're very, very similar. I'm not going to say they're the same thing because, there's some people that love them, some people that hate them, whatever. But they're very, very similar. Rudolph Steiner was a big name in theosophy, like in the early 1900s. I believe like right before Blavatsky died is whenever he became, a prominent figure within theosophy. Whenever that happened, he decided he loved theosophy, but he didn't like how it didn't include Western esotericism. And he thought, well, the Western esotericism mainly talking about the Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He had a main focus on Christianity though. So he's known as a Christian mystic. Rudolph Steiner was. And so he looked at theosophy through a Western mysticism kind of lens, which I believe he was one of the first to be able to put two and two together in that way, at least in the modern era. So that's really what we're going to be getting into. And I opened up his book the other day and I thought, oh my God, dude, it's literally, so his book, or one of his books, is called To Know Higher Worlds. So to basically to understand higher worlds, it's called a modern path of initiation. Who doesn't like to be initiated into things? Now, usually the initiatory path is not typically a fun one. But that being said, you got to go through a little trauma in order to speak to the fucking aliens. I think we all know this by now, but so yeah, it's and so Cody did a little bit of research on this before we were getting ready to do this show. Been doing a little bit of research for the past couple of days on this, and you found some pretty wild shit throughout this research, haven't you?
Yes, indeed, I have things that blew my mind. So without a shadow of a doubt, I know it'll blow yours. So
yeah, dude.
Whenever you want to get into that, let's go.
All right. Well, this is going to be super fun. And I just want to say, this is like Cody's only ever been on one podcast before. He's going to grow into his role as a podcaster. So give him a little bit of leeway. Nobody's perfect the first or second day that they get behind a mic, and nobody's expecting any kind of perfection. All anybody really wants is to see that like you're as excited as everybody else whenever we dive into the mysteries. And
come on,
it's very apparent to me that you absolutely are. So, all right, Rudolph Steiner. Now, before we get into this, he had actually a funny number. Essentially 33 steps in order to prepare your soul for initiation. He had 33 steps. And they're very intricate, and you're going to understand why the occult has to be the occult. Like why it has to be secretive, why it has to be mysterious. It's not that you can't have access to this information. All of every secret society's secrets are out there on the internet, out there in books, out there amongst other philosophers and other initiates. It's all out there. None of it's actually secret anymore. But you have to go find it. You can't, it's not just going to show up. It's not as popular as all the other religions of the world, and not as easily accessible as all the other religions of the world. The deeper stuff requires deeper research. And Rudolph Steiner, I've heard people talk about him for years, and I've heard this name, and so I decided to give him a little look and started reading this book, and he went into the 33 paths of preparing the soul for initiation. I was like, holy shit, I don't think there is a better episode to start Cody on than to do this as far as initiation goes.
It's deep.
Oh, dude, it's as deep as it gets. It's as deep as it gets. So before we get into the initiatory aspects that Steiner talks about, let's first talk about what led him to this knowledge in the first place. So before anything, Rudolph Steiner was a leading figure in theosophy. Around 1902, he became the general secretary of the German section of the Theosophical Society and gave many lectures within the theosophical movement. He was also deeply interested in Rosicrucianism, but he interpreted through a distinctly Western Christian esoteric lens. He often referred to what he called the Rosicrucian path as especially suitable for the modern Western seeker. And eventually, Steiner broke away from theosophy. So he decided to make his own path now. So he started out in theosophy, found a better way for himself. And so he broke away, and his main reasons for that were threefold. So he believed that Christianity, especially the mystery of Christ, was central to his spiritual evolution. All of these religious mysteries, let's just say all these different religions, so to say, they're all essentially a lens in order for you to better understand something. Like, that's how you got to look at all of these. Like, it's like looking at the lens and trying to understand the world through a certain mythological lens. So you have people who are into Norse mythology with the Viking stuff, right? Odin, Thor, Loki, all that kind of stuff. You have the people who are into Taoism. They want to see the world through that Taoism lens. There you have your Christians, your Jews, your Muslims, like the list goes on of all the different lenses that you can put on to be able to better understand the nature of your reality using that verbiage through those mythologies, okay? Steiner, he came up in Christianity, so he best understood through that lens. It's not to say that like he believed absolutely, the surface level stuff that you believe in the Bible, but he wanted to understand it at a deeper, more esoteric level. So that's what he decided to go with. And he didn't like that theosophy kind of excluded Christianity, because theosophy was it started because of Helena Blavatsky. Right, so Helena Blavatsky starts this back in the 1800s, kind of the last quarter of the 1800s, and she had this real bone to pick with all things Abrahamic, because everybody kept on telling her, well, why are you looking into this? Why are you looking into that? That's all demonic. So of course it put a bad flavor in her mouth, and so she was like, all right, well, fuck you then. I'm just gonna include everybody else except for you. And to be honest, I get it. All right. Because the only people that are calling me demonic are the obvious. So that's what she decided to do. Rudolph Steiner disagreed with it. He also disagreed with many theosophists over the claim that J. Krishnamurti was the coming world teacher or the new Messiah. So Blavatsky, along with others, they said that eventually there's going to be like this world teacher or Messiah type figure that would eventually take theosophy to the next level. And what they found was this young boy, and I believe I can't remember what country he was in. I want to say India. They found this young boy who was smart as a whip, dude. He was like 7 or 8 years old, and they knew that he was going to be the next like face of theosophy. But they made it out to be like, oh, he's going to be the new Messiah, or he's going to be the new world teacher. And he did actually grow up to be a very prominent religious and philosophical figure. But it's not to say that like, oh, theosophy rules the world now. He was just like your characters like Sadhguru and, Alan Watts, like that kind of character that is very, very deep philosophically, but that's kind of what he became. So he disagreed that Krishnamurti was going to be the new Messiah. And finally, he felt that the Theosophical Society was becoming too focused on Eastern traditions at the expense of what he saw as the Western esoteric tradition. So he ended up splitting away from Theosophy around 1912 or 1913, and he founded a new society called the Anthroposophical Society. That's a mouthful. Anthroposophical Society. There we go. Which became the home of his own spiritual philosophy called anthroposophy. Anthroposophy. Yeah, that's how it looks. So Steiner is often seen as a bridge between Theosophy and Rosicrucianism. He accepted most of Theosophy's cosmology, but shifted the emphasis towards Jesus Christ, Western esotericism, and a more systematic approach to spiritual development. So now that we understand his history a little bit, let's get to the first chapter of his book. So, in understanding and reading about Rudolph Steiner, Cody, what were a couple of the things that kind of blew you away as far as his philosophies about what he was trying to portray?
All of them, really. If you're new to understanding these types of things, like I am, the path of initiation is long, because it's a growth that you have with yourself. It's a growth that you're now saying in the eyes of your flaws, of your shortcomings, your moments that didn't lead anywhere, and regrets. And now you're looking that dead in the face and saying, I'm okay with you, even though you're looking at me like you suck. You're the worst person ever. Oh, how am I going to get over this? How am I going to get over myself?
Makes you very introspective.
Oh my. So we're going to get into that, man. There's just so much.
Yeah, dude.
Just to give you one.
Oh, dude. It's a full on, like, you want to talk about one of the most introspective things that you can do without meditation or hallucinogenic plant medicines. this is the way. Like, this is the way, literally. So, and I was just so fascinated about this as far as initiation for occult mysticism, Western occult mysticism, but mysticism in general. All right. I think we're going to start to get to the book here now. And look, before we get going, I do want to remind people that there was a new Metamystics website that was created, and I decided to be a little tongue-in-cheek since metamystics.com was taken and they wanted to charge me fucking $4,000 to buy the website, and I said, piss off, wanka. I'm going to make my own shit, and it's going to be a little funny, and it's going to be memorable, and I called it onlymystics.com. So for all your husbands or wives that are worried about what you're typing into your phone, what is this Only Mystics? Is this some kind of OnlyFans spinoff? No, there ain't no nudies over there. We don't sell feet pics, and we are, our bodies are not for sale over here. Our minds are. We will definitely get into some of the deeper mysteries of our own minds, but that's about it. So if you go over to onlymystics.com, it's a real simple layout. You'll be able to see all of our social medias, all of our, like our YouTube, our Patreon, Spotify, Apple. You'll be able to find where you can email us. You'll be able to find where you can, email and get in contact with me as far as like, if you want a past life regression. I've talked about that plenty of times. If you're interested in any of that, go and check out onlymystics.com. It is free to go over there and check it out. Like, there's no paywall over there. And if you're interested in Patreon and joining Patreon or checking out any of our social medias, you'll be able to go and subscribe. There's hyperlinks. It's super easy, super clean, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. It's my first ever website that I ever built, and I'm decently satisfied with it. I mean, hey, I'm new. I didn't know what to do, but I figured it out. And so, yeah, go and check that out. So instead of all of the crazy show notes down below in the show notes of the podcast or of the Patreon video or of the YouTube video, all you're going to see is onlymystics.com. And that's where you'll be able to find everything. And we're eventually going to have a merch store on there. So if you want to be able to get your Metamystics hats, your t-shirts, your tank tops, your fanny packs, your socks, duffel bags, whatever, it'll all be over there. You want to get a coffee mug so that you can not only get weird, but fucking stay weird with your first sip of the morning. Then you can go over there and check it all out. We're going to be setting that up here really soon. So that being said, let's get into the mysteries, baby. This is Rudolph Steiner, How to Know Higher Worlds. This is the first step in order to prepare yourself for initiation into Western mysticism. So number one, and we're going to go over each one of these because I thought, oh my God, they're so deep. I love it. So after number one and two and three and so on, we're going to go over and understand it a little bit deeper. But first, we're going to go to number one. So number one is the capacities by which we gain insights into the higher worlds lies dormant within each one of us. Mystics, Gnostics, and theosophists have always spoken of a world of soul and spirit that is as real to them as the world we can see with our eyes and touch with our hands. Listening to them, we can say to ourselves at every moment, I know that I, too, can experience what they talk about if I only unfold certain forces within me that today still lie dormant there. All we need to know is how to begin to develop these faculties for ourselves. Only for those who have already developed such powers for themselves can help us to do this. From the beginning of the human race, a form of schooling has always existed in which persons possessing higher faculties guide those who seek to develop these faculties for themselves. Such schooling is called esoteric or mystery schooling, and the instruction that one receives there is called esoteric or occult teaching. By their very nature, these terms invite misunderstanding. Hearing them, we might easily be led to believe that those who provide this kind of schooling wish to form a privileged class of human beings who arbitrarily withhold their knowledge from their fellows. We might even think that perhaps there is nothing much to this kind of knowledge. Were it genuine knowledge, we are tempted to think there would be no need to make a secret of it. It could be made public and its benefits shared by all. So that's number one right there. So at first he's getting in, he's like, look, if any person can do something, then that means the majority or everybody else has the ability to at least achieve some of that, right? It's not to say that like, all right, LeBron is, 6'10" or 6'11", or however the fuck tall he is, like LeBron James, right?
6'8". He's 6'8".
You would know that. So LeBron's 6'8". Obviously, he can dunk a little bit easier than I would be able to figure it out, right? He has the stature. But the difference is that we're not talking about our physical forms here. We're talking about the spark that is within all of us. And that spark, whenever it is awakened, and whenever you shine a little introspective light on it, and through initiatory processes and meditation and deep introspection, which leads to an awakening. And if there's anything that we've learned on this show is that everybody's different, but for most people, awakening comes in stages, right? Like it's not all at once. It's not like, oh, I'm awakened, I got it all. The answers are being downloaded to me as we speak. For most people, it's not like that at all. For most people, it is a gradual process. And so that's what we're here for. And that's what Rudolph Steiner is here for us for as well. So, I mean, do you understand? Like, all right, Cody, there's a lot of religious people that will say that the occult is evil. And, if you got to hide your information, then it's clearly for evil purposes. What he's saying is, I get how you see that. Like, I get how you see it that way. But you have to understand, not everybody's going to get and understand these esoteric concepts. Most people would rather believe the surface level story. Most people would rather believe that there was an ark with 2 of every animal and that was the first ever time that it rained in the history of the earth and all of that. But there's an esoteric layer to that. And the same thing with the Garden of Eden, the same thing with the story of Job being tempted by Satan. These are allegorical stories built literally through esotericism. And so there's esoteric meaning behind all of these literal stories. And the problem is that most people would rather just believe them to be literal, because most people don't believe something unless they believe it literally happened. But this goes a step farther. That's what's called exoteric. By exoteric, think about like exoskeleton, right? Exotericism is believing the surface level stories. Esotericism is believing the more inner, mystical kind of stories, right? So that's the difference. That's what we're dealing with right here. So let's go on to step 2. Those initiated into the nature of esoteric knowledge are not in the least surprised that the uninitiated should think like this. After all, the secret of initiation can be understood only by those who have themselves, to some degree, undergone initiation into the higher mysteries of existence. How, we may all wonder, under these conditions are the initiated to develop any human interest whatsoever in this so-called occult knowledge? Why and how should one seek for something whose nature one can have no clear idea? Such questions are based on a completely false idea of the nature of esoteric knowledge. In actuality, esoteric or inner knowledge is no different from any other kind of human knowledge or ability. It is a mystery for the average person only to the extent that writing is a mystery for those who have not yet learned to write. Just as given the right teaching methods, anyone can learn to write, so too can anyone become a student of esoteric knowledge, and yes, even a teacher of it if he or she follows the appropriate path. Ordinary knowledge and ability differ from esoteric knowledge in one respect only. A person may not have the possibility of learning to write because of the cultural conditions or poverty that he or she is born into, but no one who seeks sincerely will find any barriers to achieving knowledge and abilities in the higher worlds. So what he's saying is, like, it's harder to learn how to write if you've never written before. It is harder to learn how to write than it is to understand the deeper mysteries of reality and the deeper mysteries of yourself. As long as you have a striving for it, as long as you're sincere in your seeking, then it will show itself to you. You know, the old saying is that when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And that teacher doesn't always necessarily mean that it's going to be a human flesh speaking human words to you. Sometimes that teacher is found in a book, like the one that we're reading. Sometimes it's found, in the most inconspicuous ways that you're not really expecting. And that's the beauty of it, because now your mind is opened up for the possibility of a teacher to come into your life. Now you're kind of looking for it, right? And so if there's anything that our mind does, our mind is very like patternized. Like we look for patterns in everything. But if you set your mind towards searching for a specific pattern, your mind, your subconscious mind, will kind of magnetize you to it, essentially. So that's what he's saying right here. Like, look, it might seem like it's difficult to understand at first, but if you actually are a true seeker, like a sincere seeker, you're going to get it.
Yeah, you put in the work, you're going to find it.
That's it, baby. That's it. All right. So number 3, many people believe that they must seek out masters of higher knowledge wherever such masters may be found in order to receive teachings from them. There is a twofold truth to this. On the one hand, if our aspiration to higher knowledge is sincere, we will certainly spare no effort and avoid no obstacle in our quest for an infinite for our quest in an initiate able to lead us into the higher mysteries of the world. On the other hand, we can be certain that if our striving for knowledge is sincere and worthy, initiation will find us where whatsoever the circumstance. There is a universal law among initiates that a knowledge due to a seeker cannot be withheld. But there is also another universal law that esoteric knowledge may not be imparted to anyone not qualified to receive it. So you're not going to get shit that you're incapable of comprehending. And if you are, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. You're not going to get it, right? So that's kind of what he's saying here. The more perfect the initiate, the more strictly these two laws are observed. The spiritual bond uniting all initiates is not an outward one, but the two laws just mentioned are what hold its members together. You may live in close friendship with one who has been initiated, but until you yourself has been initiated, something will always separate you from the initiate's innermost being. You may enjoy an initiate's full heart and love, but the initiate will not share the secret with you until you're ready. You may flatter, you may torment, but nothing will induce the initiate to betray anything that should not be divulged to you if, at the present stage of your development, you do not yet understand how to prepare a proper welcome for this secret in your soul. That's the idea, is like this. People who understand this kind of stuff, they're probably not just going to, scream it from the mountaintops, because they know that you have to be somewhat initiated. All initiated means is, like, in this sense, is that you've looked into it, you have an interest in it, you're really curious about how it all works, and you're willing to do whatever it takes in order to, kind of be enlightened by this information, right? Like that's kind of the idea of initiation. If somebody is like just half-heartedly curious, well, I'm not going to tell you the fucking secrets. Like, why would I waste my time describing the thing that I hold most valuable to you? Why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense, because people who are into this, they love it. Like, it is their reason. I don't want to say it's their reason for living, but it's their reason for understanding what it means to live.
The wanting to live fuller.
That's it. Yes, exactly. So, all right, let's go on to step 4. Quite specific methods prepare us to receive such secrets. Their course is traced out with indelible, eternal letters in the spiritual worlds where initiates preserve the higher secrets. In ancient prehistoric times, the temples of the spirit were outwardly visible, but today, when our life has become so unspiritual, they no longer exist where we can see them with our physical eyes. Yet spiritually, they are still present everywhere, and whoever seeks can find them. Interesting. What he's saying there is like, humanity used to be of very high spiritual nature. Like, we used to understand things, see things mainly from a spiritual perspective, because we understood that not only was this a physical reality, but there was spirit weaved in throughout it, right? It was understood that this was a spiritual place that we lived in, and that the physical manifestation of that was because of the projection of the spiritual world itself. That everything essentially comes from the spiritual world, and that is how we have this, this physical world to even experience in general. But what he's saying is that we've moved so far away from that. There's technocracy, there's politics, there's all kind of things to kind of push you off of your spiritual path, and all of it is really trying to vie for your attention and your intention. Like, think about it. It used to be that people would pray or meditate in temples all day long. Like, people used to do that. Those same people are probably laying in bed and watching Netflix all day now, right? Like, think about how many people that will literally, on days that they're not working or hours of the day that they're not working, instead of trying to understand and be more connected to God or to the universe or to the nature of reality, instead of that, they would rather literally just Netflix and chill their life away. And that's unfortunate that, our life has kind of been steered that way. And look, we can blame we can blame the elite. We can blame them on brainwashing us. We can blame them on poisoning us. But at some point, we got to take initiative. At some point, we got to look ourselves in the mirror and say, you know what? Yeah, maybe they kind of talked me into it. Maybe they kind of hypnotized me into this lifestyle. But it's up to you to really change course. Otherwise, there's nobody else to blame except for yourself. And so I love it.
Go your own way.
Yeah, that whole poor me mentality won't get you far. It's not going to get you far at all, So what are you thinking so far? You like it?
I'm loving it. I'm loving everything I'm hearing. Things that I haven't quite came across yet, but they're intriguing, extremely intriguing. And I just can't wait to get the initiation process itself, how it works, what can you do, what do I need to do to start this today? You know what I mean? Because I can hear it all day long, but if I don't put the initiation in,
put it into practice,
I'll never start. Exactly. So, and we're going to go through some of those things on how we can start right here today, tomorrow, for a few minutes a day, just different practices and stuff, just to help you guys out. If you're new to this whole thing like I am, then I'm going to just layman term everything, because I need to fully understand what I'm talking about. I can't just skip over this word and say, oh, it doesn't matter, because it does. You know what I mean? So I like to dive in, and I'm excited, dude. Good job.
No, I love that. And that's really what I've been trying to do over the past couple of years, is to try and put it into layman's terms. Not because everybody else is slow or anything like that, because I'm learning all of this. And one thing that I've always said, and I'll always say, is that I am nobody's teacher. I am a forever student to understanding all of this. There's some people that will call themselves gurus or masters or shamans or things like this. But I feel like if you get to that point where you've reached, higher status, you're almost pushed off of the learning path, and you're vaulted into this role of people coming to you rather than you going to people. And that's not a position that I want to be in. I want to be a student to all of it. And that's why the catchphrase of this entire show is that you don't know what you don't know. That's the entire premise of all of this, is that every single thing that you learn should inspire more questions. And that's the beauty of it. If you got more questions, that is your will on fire. That is you excited to keep going, because you want to, it's forever that carrot at the end of the stick dangling in front of you. And maybe every so often you get a little nibble of the tip, right? And you're like, oh my God, I need a little bit more of that. But it's always going to be there, and it always should be there. Otherwise, what is there? You're just going to sit there and eat the carrot, and then what are you going to do when the carrot's done? Well, I guess that's it. No, there is never a that's it. It's always expanding. It's always, something deeper to understand at a more philosophical, at a more magical, at a more, a spiritual, mystical kind of way. And that's what's amazing about this, is that it's a forever spiraling into different worlds of a Mandelbrot set. And one day, Cody, we'll get into what a Mandelbrot set is, but it's
okay.
That's awesome.
I'm familiar with it. Can't wait.
Yes. So now let's go to number 5. Only within our own souls can one find the means of opening an initiate's mouth. But before one can receive the highest treasures of the spirit, one must develop definite inner qualities to a specific higher degree. And a lot of that comes through meditation. That's kind of what he's trying to point you in the direction of. Because in order to better understand the nature of your reality and the nature of yourself, it is an absolute must, learn to meditate. And we're going to meditate at the end of the show. And you're going to see just how powerful it is. I'm sure we've meditated before together. But it is intricately woven into understanding everything is meditation. Because what happens in meditation is that eventually you get to a point. See, a lot of people they're like, they say, well, you got to still the mind and, not think and stuff like that. No, the idea is to go beyond that. Like, you're allowed to have thoughts, but it's to not pay attention to those thoughts. The thoughts are going to come whether you're paying attention to them or not. That's the crazy thing. So if your mind is having thoughts and you can separate yourself from those thoughts, then that proves that you're not your thoughts. And if you're not your thoughts, then what are you? You're just the observer. You're the observer of this entire reality. And once you come to that conclusion, existing beyond physical death is a no-brainer. You absolutely are. You don't even need a fucking brain to exist. You are a soul, you're a consciousness, you're a spirit, whatever you want to call it. But that thing that is forever, it lasts forever, it exists forever, there is no end. This is the song that never ends, like Lamb Chop. Like, you're never going to not exist. You're never going to not experience. Now, you might experience what it's like to, be a frog one day. Maybe you'll experience what it's like to be an alien one day. But you will always exist. Like, there's no doubt about it. And you'll learn that easily through meditation. I mean, you'll learn it through multiple different modalities, but meditation is the most common one. So just want to let you know.
Quick. Meditation's quick. Like, you can jump right in. There's no work that needs to be done for me to be able to meditate.
Nope.
Is that correct?
Yep. Just sit there and, try not to move. You want to get into a comfortable position. Try not to move. Try not to become too attached to your thoughts. And just I like to listen to music whenever I meditate. And usually it's meditational music. I like to listen to 432 hertz frequency or all the different frequencies. They're called solfeggio frequencies, but you can listen to all these different frequencies. And they're essentially, the idea is that you hook your consciousness to the rhythm of the music, to where your consciousness and the music is one, that the music is playing, but you're experiencing it as a consciousness.
In a harmony, you and the music, one.
Yes. And that is way more beautiful than just listening to your fucking thoughts,
Yeah.
So let's go on to number 6. We begin with a fundamental mood of soul. Spiritual researchers call this basic attitude the path of reverence or of devotion to truth and knowledge. Only those who have acquired this fundamental mood or attitude can become pupils in an esoteric world. Anyone with any experience in this area knows that those who later become students of esoteric knowledge demonstrate this gift for reverence in childhood. Some children look up to those whom they revere with a holy awe. Their profound respect for these people works in the deepest recesses of their hearts and forbids any thoughts of criticism or opposition to arise. Dude, think about that. We loved, it went beyond love. We adored The Rock as a wrestler when we were little. Like, The Rock it was like Jesus and then The Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was up there. It's like, he was
Yeah, he was.
such a pedestal that we looked up to him. And that's what he's saying right here is you have to now kind of bring back that childhood awe into not looking up to a person in that way, but looking up to this information unfolding in your mind in that way. So
get excited.
Be excited, as excited as you possibly can be. Yeah. So such children grow up into young people who enjoy looking up to something that fills them with reverence. Many of these young people become students of esoteric knowledge. If you have ever stood before the door of someone that you revered, filled with holy awe as you turned the doorknob to enter for the first time a room that was a quote-unquote holy place for you, then the feeling you experienced at that moment is the seed that can later blossom into your becoming a student into an occult esoteric school. Let's go, dude. To be gifted with the potential for such feelings is a blessing for every young person. We should not fear that such feelings of reverence lead to subservience and slavery. On the contrary, a child's reverence for others develops into a reverence for truth and knowledge. Experience teaches that we know best how to hold our heads high in freedom if we have learned to feel reverence when it is appropriate, and it is appropriate whenever it flows from the depths of the heart. So, like, I felt that way for two people growing up. I felt it for The Rock, and I felt it for Brett Favre. Like, if I ever got to meet them, I would probably faint. You know, like, it was one of those, these were my idols if I ever got to meet them. You know what I mean? And even us, like, we got to meet a couple of pretty famous people throughout our lives. Like, we got to meet, like, Steelers legend running back, Franco Harris, known for the immaculate reception of the fucking Pittsburgh Steelers and the steel curtain of the 70s. Like, this guy was an idol to everybody in Pittsburgh, and we got to meet him. And one thing I'll never forget is whenever we went to meet him, he said something to you, which he said to you, he goes, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." And you were just so awestruck, and you were like, he thinks it's nice to meet me? Like, you took that to heart all the way.
All right.
And I remember that. But you know, that's the kind of awe and reverence that he's saying that we should have for this kind of knowledge.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I love that. Because look, if you look at it like it's a job, you're not going to get it. Like, you have to have a fire in you that wants to learn this stuff. So let's go on to number 7. We will not find the inner strength to evolve to a higher level if we do not inwardly develop this profound feeling that there is something higher than ourselves. Initiates found the strength to lift themselves to the heights of knowledge only because they first guided their hearts into the depths of veneration and devotion. Only a person who has passed through the gate of humility can ascend to the heights of the spirit. To attain true knowledge, you must first learn to respect this knowledge. We certainly have the right to turn our eyes toward the light, but we must earn this right. Spiritual life has its laws just as physical life does. Rub a glass rod with the appropriate substance and it becomes electrified. That is, the glass rod will now have the power to attract small particles. This process demonstrates a physical law. If one has learned some elementary physics, one knows that this is so. Similarly, if one knows the fundamental laws of esoteric science, one knows that every feeling of true that the true feeling of true devotion, sorry, it was like half a word on the page and half a word on the other page. Let me just read that over again. Similarly, if one knows the fundamentals of esoteric science, one knows that that every feeling of true devotion unfolded into the soul produces an inner strength or force that sooner or later leads to knowledge. Definitely true. Number 8. Whoever possesses an innate tendency toward feelings of devotion or have been lucky enough to receive an education that cultivated those feelings is well prepared in later life to seek the way to higher knowledge. Those who do not bring this preparation with them will have to work at developing this devotional mood with vigorous self-discipline. If not, they will encounter difficulties after taking only the first few steps on the path of knowledge. In our time, it is particularly important to focus complete attention on this point. Our civilization is more inclined to criticize, judge, and condemn rather than feel devotion and selfless veneration. Our children criticize far more than they respect or revere, but just as surely as every feeling of devotion and reverence nurtures the soul's powers for higher knowledge, so every act of criticism and judgment drives these powers away. Interesting. So this is not meant to imply anything against our civilization. Our concern here is not to criticize it. After all, we owe the greatness of our culture precisely to our ability to make critical, self-confident human judgments and to our principle of, in quotes, testing all and keeping the best. Modern science, industry, transportation, commerce, law, all of these would have never developed without the universal exercise of our critical faculty and standards of judgment. But the price of this, gain in outer culture has been a corresponding loss in higher knowledge and spiritual life. Therefore, we must never forget that higher knowledge has to do with revering truth and insight, and not with revering people. Damn.
So the information, not the people.
Exactly. Like, think about, I know they say Thomas Edison is not the one that actually created the light bulb, but let's just say Edison did, right? That's like if people would worship Edison instead of use the light bulb. You know, kind of look at it like that. Like, so
Right.
basically he's saying, like, look, he created something that works for everybody. And, you know, thank God he did, so we ain't got to walk around with fucking candles all day, right? But like, he created something, but that doesn't mean that we got to worship him and think that he knows all the answers to the universe. Let's, you know, he created something that has a function that everybody can use. Now let's move on. Kind of like that. Number 9. Nevertheless, we must be clear about one thing. Those completely immersed in the superficial civilization of our day will find it practically difficult to work their way to cognition of the higher worlds. To do so, they will have to work energetically upon themselves. In times when the material conditions of life were still simple, spiritual progress was easier. What was revered and held sacred stood out more clearly from the rest of the world. In an age of criticism, on the other hand, ideals are degraded. Reverence, awe, adoration, and wonder are replaced by other feelings. They are pushed more and more into the background. As a result, everyday life offers very few opportunities for their development. Anyone seeking higher knowledge must create these feelings inwardly, instilling them in the soul. This cannot be done by studying. It can be done only by living. If we wish to become esoteric students, we must train ourselves vigorously in the mood of devotion. We must seek in all things around us, in all our experiences, for what can arouse our admiration and respect. If I meet other people and criticize their weaknesses, I rob myself of higher cognitive power. But if I try to enter deeply and lovingly into another person's good qualities, I gather in that force. Disciples of this occult path must always bear in mind the need to cultivate such admiration and respect. Experienced spiritual teachers know what strength they gain by always looking for good in everything and withholding their critical judgment. This practice should not remain simply an outer rule of life, but must take hold of the innermost part of the soul. It lies in our hands to perfect ourselves and gradually transform ourselves completely. But this transformation must take place in order. It must take place in our innermost depths, in our thinking. Showing respect outwardly in our relations with other beings is not enough. We must carry this respect into our thoughts. That is powerful right there, because, dude, I can't tell you how many people are so nice and seem so loving and caring on the surface, but you know damn well they're going to go home and talk shit about you later on, right?
I mean, into your thoughts. I mean, we might not say everything we're feeling, but, you know, we're thinking usually different from what we're saying. You know what I mean? Just to be polite and to respect it externally to them, one-on-one. You know what I mean? But when it comes to, okay, I hear him, but I don't agree with that or whatever, you know what I mean? Then you may use some different words, to say the least, you know, in your head. So your thinking is they're saying your thinking needs to be there too. So now respect has to be something you now give them in a mental state.
Yes. Yes.
Heavy, dude.
Think
Imagine
about it.
trying that, dude. Like, a lot of people, I imagine a lot of people don't. I know I've never tried it. And I'm going to start trying it.
Well, because it takes work. You know, it's
Wow.
so easy to be surface level nice.
Sure.
You know, but think about it
Sure.
like this. Like, and as your days go on with obtaining a lot of this information, you'll see that what you think causes you to feel the way you feel. So
Oh, yeah.
if you can then, instead of judging and criticizing and worrying about everybody else and judging everybody else or whatever, instead of doing that, if you instead say, oh man, you know, all right, he might have been a little rough around the edges whenever I was young, or he might have been a little rough around the edges at work, or she might have been this way or whatever. What did I learn from her? How can I express adoration for this person? Because when you express adoration from this person inwardly, you're also expressing that adoration is felt inwardly. It is a reward, literally, inwardly, when you admire somebody inwardly and outwardly.
Wow. Because you think about it, man. You go to thinking about it and you're like, okay, I have this thought. Okay, so now I'm thinking this, right? Thinking leads to the heart, right? And the
Yep.
heart to behavior. So it's all like this fluent motion that starts here, goes here, and out goes your behavior. So let's transcend it.
Do you want to know something interesting?
Hit me.
So in our brains, we have neurons, right? Like that's what causes things to fire and allows us to have thoughts and connect the dots and all that kind of stuff. Those are neurons, right? Do you know that you have neurons in your heart? You know that you have neurons in your gut as well.
No.
So
Absolutely
literally
not.
your gut and your heart have the ability to think and feel, literally. Like it's not just a figure of speech. It's literally you have neurons in there. So that's how, you know, you have to be, and this is where the idea of chakras come in, and Kundalini and all that other kind of stuff. Chakras are essentially your energetic centers throughout your body. And if you can align them through meditation and proper practices and all this other kind of stuff, then what happens is that you have what is called a Kundalini experience, right? Like to where this Kundalini, whenever they're fully aligned, all of your chakras. So you have 7 chakras, okay? So you have all of your chakras, if you can align them and get them to work all together, now you're feeling more whole. Now you're understanding at a deeper level. Not only able to express it outwardly, but able to experience it inwardly.
Wow.
And so
You literally have this electricity running through the course of your body then when you get all 7 of these in line.
yes.
I wonder what that's like, bro.
Oh, dude, you're superhuman.
Right.
Like you're superhuman then. Like that is, I think whenever you can learn to do that like regularly, that's whenever you pick up what is called the siddhis. It's siddhis. This is what the Hindus and the Buddhists call siddhis, right? Do you know what a siddhi actually is? It's a fucking superpower. Like it is a superpower, like levitation, like telepathy, like being able to have the physical force of 100 men, like all of these crazy superpowers. Like the Hulk was not a harebrained idea. That is a siddhi. That is a something that we have the ability to be able to achieve on our way to enlightenment and nirvana. And that's the idea. But you know, it all comes in practice and it all comes in time. But like ideally, and they say that even like the siddhis, you shouldn't even, like whenever you achieve and you're able to, you know, have these superpowers, you're not supposed to look at them in reverence and awe and be like, oh, look at me, I'm a fucking badass or anything like that. You're supposed to keep on going, because that is just one of the awesome steps on the way to the top of, you know, whatever you call it, enlightenment or, you know, Christ consciousness or what have you.
So what you're saying is if I start levitating, not to make a big deal about it, you know, and just move forward. What else can I do? What else can I learn? Let's focus more. Now that I can do that, I'm sure there's more things I can do.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know about a force of 100 men. That'd be sick, but let's try it.
I'm saying, dude, like it is crazy. And shout out. I'm so sorry. I cannot remember the name of the person. Was it Timmy Two Toes or somebody else? I can't remember now. Whoever referred me to read the Magus of Hava, Magus of Hava, Java. Shout out to you. My God, is that book a fucking amazing. Like, it is so beyond awesome. It is literally, dude, I thought there was only one autobiography of a yogi. Turns out these books are all over the damn place. Like, people have met these spiritual masters who have achieved insane abilities on their way toward enlightenment. So thank you for that book request. I've really wholeheartedly been loving it. But that's why we're into this kind of stuff, because in order to, kind of get on that way, you got to get on that same radio channel. That's the idea. So to continue what we were saying, therefore, we must begin our inner schooling by bringing devotion into our thought life. We must guard against disrespectful, disparaging, and criticizing thoughts. We must try to practice reverence and devotion in our thinking at all times. You know why that is? Is because we have a frequency. Like, there is a frequency to all of us. And as a matter of fact, the Earth has a frequency. It's known as the Schumann resonance. So the Earth's frequency, I believe it's like 7.5 hertz or 7.2 hertz or something like that on average, right? That's the Schumann resonance. So the Earth is literally exerting a frequency that is capable of being able to determine what it is, right? You as a person also has that. Like, we all have a frequency. If you hook it up to a machine, there's these certain things that, like EEGs and EKGs, they're essentially brain nodes that you can put onto your head, and you'll be able to measure your frequency through these frequency modulators, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. And with that, you'll be able to determine, first of all, what state of consciousness you're in. So there's 4 states of consciousness. Some say 5. So you have beta, which is what we're in right now. We're alive, we're awake, we're aware, we're interested, we're here, we're now, right? Like, that's the beta frame of mind. Then you have alpha. Alpha is a light trance. So whenever you watch TV, you're in a light trance. You literally, there has never been a person that has ever been able to watch TV for more than 60 seconds without slipping into a light trance known as alpha, okay? The next, you have theta. Theta is a deep trance. It typically only happens once or twice a day, usually whenever you wake up or whenever you're getting ready to fall asleep. You're in the in-between world. You're halfway in sleep world, halfway in dream world. That's the theta state of mind. Then you have gamma. Gamma is the deepest recess of your mind that you can experience, kind of lucid world, essentially, to where this is where, whenever you hear about people that are able to channel, people that are able to give you a good psychic reading, whenever you're in a super, super deep meditation, the idea is that you get to this gamma state of mind. And that is literally, like, if you're not paying attention, your next breath, you'll be sleeping. Like, that's how deep you are in a trance. And then you have delta, which is sleeping. So the EKGs and the EEGs will measure all of that, right? But it'll also measure your exact frequency. Those frequencies are heavily determined based upon your emotion and your mood, right? Like, so if you've been really shitting on yourself today, or you've been accepting other people shitting on you today, for example, right? You're going to be in a down mood. You're going to be a little upset. You're going to be thinking low of yourself. You're not going to be having a good day. The thoughts that are coming into your mind are not going to be good. That causes you to go into a low frequency. That's a low frequency, not good, right? Anger, fear, judgment, sadness, crying, whatever, right? Grief. Like, these are all low frequency vibrations. On your way towards meditation, and trying to align all of these chakras, you're able to get to a point to where you're no longer identifying with those lower frequencies because you understand, yes, they're thoughts, but I'm not allowing outward judgment to inflict pain on my inner world. You know, like you're now aware of your thoughts. You're now aware that anytime somebody talks shit about you or anytime you talk shit about yourself, you come into awareness and you don't allow those things to happen because you know that it's only going to bring down your frequency, which means your experience of life is going to suck more and time is going to go slower. And, you know, you feel that way about everybody. And it's the same thing all the way up. So now what he's saying is that if you can keep yourself in adoration and devotion and awe and amazement, you're at like a super high frequency. You know, like you're showing adoration for somebody. That's love. You know, that is like you care. And through that love and through that care, not only are you expressing it outwardly, you're feeling it inwardly. So now it's your world that you're experiencing of love and care. And these are all frequencies within us. And this is why, did you know, I can go on and on all day about this shit, but did you know that the Bible, it says, do not fear or fear not 365 times in the Bible? It's literally one for every day of the year.
Yeah.
So
yes, I have heard that.
It's not because, right, it's not because like, you know, they don't want you to fear because they're scary looking or something like that. It's literally saying, don't fear, because if you do fear, you're going to experience fear. You're going to experience fear outwardly and inwardly. Because
also in the spiritual aspect of it, you know, if you're fearing, whether it be in the Bible or somewhere else, anywhere in the spiritual world, the second you start fearing or have a spirit of fear, you're now paralyzing your spirituality. It's on lock. It can't move. It's scared. It's terrified.
Oh yeah, dude. Have you ever had Have you ever had sleep paralysis?
Yes.
Okay. Do you are you scared whenever that happens, or what do you experience?
No, I wouldn't say for me, it's never been like a fear or a worry of mine because I know it can't last forever. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like withering the storm.
So a lot of people, whenever they get sleep paralysis, they go into this extreme fear state. And the reason why they go into this extreme fear state is because they identify so much with their body that if they can't move their body, then what is left? What am I if I'm not able to move my body? And it really fucks with their brain in that way, right? And as a result of that insane fear that they're generating within themselves, they're now exerting it outside of them. Their frequency is like ding, 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 ding on the fear frequency level, right? And whenever that happens, do I really want to go there? Let's go there. Whenever that happens, you essentially project outwardly that fear. Whenever you project outwardly, that fear is one thing that will cause insane nightmare illusions around you. Like nightmare illusions. So whenever you're in such a deep state of fear, because you're feeling that so much, it almost projects into your outer world. And that's whenever people see demons and they see shadow monsters and they see the Hat Man or the Boogeyman or whatever, right? And it's because they've allowed themselves to go into such a low, sickening frequency that their brain is showing them. It's like, oh, you're in fear? Let me show you what's fearful, right? And so conversely, if you're always in adoration, if you're always in love, if you're always in high regard, then maybe the world will project those types of, let's call them in quotations, illusions for you to see. All right, so let's get to number 10 here. We're going to start burning through these because I feel like I've been trying to go too deep and I don't want this show to be 19 hours long. So we're going to start burning through these. Number 10. Each moment that we spend becoming aware of whatever derogatory, judgmental, and critical opinions still remain in our consciousness brings us closer to higher knowledge. We advance even more quickly if, in such moments, we fill our consciousness with admiration, respect, and reverence for the world and life. Anyone experienced in these things knows that such moments awaken forces in us that otherwise remain dormant. Filling our consciousness in this way opens our spiritual eyes. We begin to see things around us that we could not see before. We begin to realize that previously we saw only a part of the world surrounding us. We begin to see our fellow human beings in a different way than we did before. Naturally, this rule of life alone does not yet enable us to perceive what, for an example, is called the human aura. For this, still higher schooling is needed, yet we cannot begin such schooling until we have undergone a vigorous training in devotion. I love it. So you're just saying, like, look, you can't learn about this stuff and then take 3 or 4 days off. It has to be an everyday thing that you're constant. That's what he means by devotion. You're doing it every day. You're aware of it every day. Number 11, as occult pupils, we should embark upon, in quotes, the path of knowledge quietly, unnoticed by the outer world. No one should perceive any change in us. We continue to carry out our duties and attend to our business just as before. Changes occur only in the inner part of the soul, which is withdrawn from and invisible to the outer eye. At first, a basic mood of devotion to everything truly worthy of reverence suffuses our entire inner life. This one fundamental feeling becomes the center of our soul's life, just as the sun's rays quicken all living things, so the reverence in us quickens all the feelings in our soul. There you go. Because you're supposed to kind of look at it like you have, like, maybe you want to call it your soul or your spirit. Some people will call it your spark or the source within or the God within you or the Christ within you. These are all just examples of saying that you have this innermost light, and if you focus on your innermost light throughout the rest of your body and shine that light throughout the rest of the world, the entire world starts to change. Your world and the outer world. Number 12. At first glance, it is not easy to believe that feelings of reverence and respect are in any way connected with knowledge. This is because we tend to see cognition as an isolated faculty that has no connection whatsoever with anything else going on in our souls. Thus, we forget that it is the soul that cognizes. What food is to the body, feelings are to the soul. Damn, that's about right. So your feeling is essentially... Yeah, it's your nourishment to your soul. If we feed the body stones instead of bread, it will cease to function. It is the same with the soul. We nourish it with reverence, respect, and devotion. These make the soul healthy and strong, particularly for the activity of knowing. Disrespect and antipathy. Did I say it right? Antipathy, antipathy, which means like no empathy. Or no sympathy, and disparaging admirable things, on the other hand, paralyze and slay our cognitive activities. For spiritual researchers, these soul realities are visible in the aura. A soul that learns feelings of devotion and reverence changes its aura. Certain spiritual yellow-red or brown-red colors, as they may be called, disappear and are replaced by tones of blue-red. Our cognitive capacity increases. We now receive information about facts in our environment of which we were previously unaware. Reverence awakens a power of sympathy in the soul. This draws us toward qualities in the beings around us that otherwise would remain hidden. So have you ever heard of, you've heard of the word namaste, right? Namaste, yes. It's almost like, you say it almost as like a meditational or a peaceful kind of like a spiritual salute, if you will, right? Most people will do that. But actually, namaste, what it actually means is the divine within me recognizes the divine within you.
Okay. I like it. I actually like it.
That's what that means. It's like, all right, I see that you have a meat suit. I see that you have an ego. I see that you have a mind, and I see that you have thoughts, but we're made of the same thing. And I see that within you. And I revere that thing within you because I revere that thing within me. So,
dude, that's a bigger word than it even sounded. And it's already sounding like a big word, but you just put emphasis on it, dude. That's sick.
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah. This shit is deep, dude. So, where were we? Number 13. You're more than a quarter of the way through now. Or more than a third of the way through, rather. What we attain through devotion becomes even more effective when another kind of feeling is added. This consists in our learning to surrender ourselves less and less to the impressions of the outer world and develop instead an active inner life. If we chase after amusements and rush from one sense impression to the next, we will not find the way to esoteric knowledge. Not that occult students should become dull or unfeeling toward the outer world. Rather, a rich inner life should orient us in responding to impressions. Oh, I like it. Yeah, if you're always chasing like, the next piece of ass, or you're trying to chase the next beer, or you're trying to chase the whatever it is that like makes you excited, eventually, it's like people build up a tolerance for these things. Like if you remember, like whenever you first started drinking, like 1 or 2 beers, you were drunk, right? Like you were like, damn, I don't know how people drink a case of it. And then you give it a couple of years, and if you're a regular boozer or whatever, it's like a case, that's all? How about 2, right? And so you develop this tolerance. What this is saying is that you don't develop a tolerance for the inner world, though. Like, so instead, like the outer world is for essentially like chasing the dragon, as they say, chasing that one thing that made you feel good that one time and you can't forget about it, right? And so in this way, if you experience something like magical, like spiritually of God, of heaven, or whatever inside of you during meditation, you're never going to like get used to that feeling. It'll always make you feel that way, is kind of what he's saying. So, where were we? A person rich in feeling and deep of soul who passes through a beautiful mountain landscape will have a different experience from one whose inner life is poor in feeling. Damn. Inner experience is the only key to the beauties of the outer world. It depends upon the inner lives that we have developed, whether when we travel across the ocean, only a few inner experiences pass through our souls, or we sense the eternal language of the world spirit and understand the mysterious riddles of creation. To develop a meaningful relationship to the outer world, we must learn to work with our own feelings and ideas. The world around us is filled everywhere with the glory of God, but we have to experience the divine in our own souls before we can find it in our surroundings. Damn, that's deep. I love it. So as students of occult knowledge, we are told to create moments in life when we can withdraw into ourselves in silence and solitude. In these moments, we should not give ourselves up to our own concerns. To do so would lead to the opposite of what we're striving for. Instead, in such moments, we should allow that what we have experienced, what the outer world has told us, to linger on in utter stillness. In these quiet moments, every flower, every animal, and every action will disclose mysteries undreamed of. This prepares us to receive new sense impressions of the outer world with eyes quite different than before. If we seek only to enjoy, consume one sense impression after another, we will blunt our capacity for cognition. If, on the other hand, we allow the experience of pleasure to reveal something to us, we will nurture and educate our cognitive capacities. For this to happen, we must learn to let the pleasure, the impression, linger on within us while we renounce any further enjoyment, new impression, and assimilate and digest the inner activity, the past experience that we have enjoyed. Here, we must face a great hurdle, and with it, a great danger. Instead of working inwardly, we can fall into the opposite and indulge our enjoyment to the full. We should not underestimate the boundless sources of error opening up for us here, for we must pass through a throng of tempters of the soul, all of whom seek to harden the eye and enclose in enclose it in itself. As students, it is our task to open the eye to the world. I is in the letter I, meaning I, the almighty I, right? And because the outer world can approach us only through sensory impressions, we must certainly seek for pleasure there. If we become indifferent to enjoyment, we become like plants that can no longer draw nourishment from their environment. On the other hand, if we stop at mere pleasure, we become shut up in ourselves. We might have meaning for ourselves, but we will have none for the world. No matter how intensely we live in ourselves and how much we cultivate our I, the world will then cut us out. As far as the world is concerned, we shall be dead. As esoteric students, we regard pleasure only as a means whereby we can become nobler for the sake of the world. Pleasure becomes a messenger, instructing us about the world. After we have taken in the teachings it provides, we move on to inner work. The purpose is not to accumulate learning as our own private store of knowledge, but to place what we have learned in the service of the world. Damn. You never really think about it like that.
Like servicing others, like on their spiritual journey and...
Yeah, well, think about it like this. If you're in a bad mood, people can sense your bad mood. And if people can sense your bad mood, especially for the empathetic people, meaning like the people that can pick up on your emotions and they essentially harness the emotion that you're putting out. So if you're around other empathetic people and you're in a bad mood, they'll pick up on that bad mood and now their day's fucking ruined. So,
right.
So not only did you just ruin your own day, you ruined their day too. So the idea is to become aware of your inner world and understand that it affects others around you, whether energetically or in any other way. That's kind of the idea around it. So
I like it.
Number 14. One fundamental principle of esoteric science taught in every form of schooling must never be violated if we wish to achieve our goal. Every insight that you seek to only enrich your own store of learning and to accumulate treasure for yourself alone leads you from your path. But every insight that you seek in order to become more mature on the path of the ennoblement of humanity and world evolution brings you one step forward. This fundamental law must always be observed. Only if we make it the guiding principle in our lives can we call ourselves genuine seekers after higher knowledge. This truth of esoteric schooling may be summarized as follows. Every idea that does not become an ideal for you kills a force in your soul, but every idea that becomes an ideal for you creates forces of life within you. Whoa. All right, number 15, we go to inner peace now. See how he starts out like kind of, elementary with some of his teachings here. And it's pretty easy to understand and pretty easy to kind of, gather in your mind. But now we're going on to the deeper aspects built upon this. And this is all just preparing for initiation. We're not being initiated right now. We're preparing for an initiation, which I love. The foreplay of initiation, if you will. Number 15. At the beginning of esoteric training, the student is directed first to the path of reverence and to the development of an inner life. Spiritual science then provides practical rules which, when observed, help us to follow this path and develop an inner life. These practical rules are not arbitrary. They are based on an age-old experience and wisdom. They are given in a similar manner wherever ways to higher knowledge are taught. All true teachers of spiritual life agree upon the content of these rules, though they may not always express them in the same words. Any apparent differences are only minor and are due to the facts that we need not discuss here. Number 16. No teacher of spiritual life exercises dominion over other human beings by means of such rules. Such teachers do not seek to restrict anyone's autonomy. Indeed, there is no better judge and guardian of human independence than a spiritual researcher. As we said earlier, a spiritual bond connects all initiates, and two laws hold this bond together. But when initiates leave their closed spiritual circle and appear in public, they are immediately subject to a third law, which is, Regulate each of your words and actions so that you do not interfere with anyone's free decisions and will. Damn. Meaning that just because you know something or you believe something or you experience truth in some kind of way does not mean that you need to say, I have the truth, I'm the one, I figured it out, all of you are wrong, you're all idiots, and if you don't believe what I believe, then so and so, right? Don't be that guy. Nobody likes those guys. Like as a matter of fact, we all know what I'm referring to, okay? Like, it doesn't take a genius to figure out those people. And that in my opinion, I actually have adoration for people like that, because you know what they're doing? They're pushing people to look into deeper concepts, because the surface level shit that they are standing on is not on business. It's on dog shit. That's the way I look at it. So, number 17. Once we have realized that a true teacher of spiritual life must be thoroughly permeated by this attitude, we know that we can lose nothing of our independence if we follow the practical rules that we are given. Number 18. One of the first rules we may now put into words somewhat as follows. Create moments of inner peace for yourself, and in these moments, learn to distinguish the essential from the inessential. All right. Here, as I said, it is put into words, but originally all the rules and teachings of spiritual science were given symbolically in a sign language. Whoever would learn the full meaning and import these rules must first understand this symbolic language. Such understanding, however, depends upon having taken the first step in spiritual science. To take these steps, one must observe closely the rules presented here. The way stands open to anyone whose will is sincere. Wow. Interesting. Did you know that, before it was called Christianity, whenever Jesus was kind of, trying to step away from Judaism and form his own, his own thing, which eventually developed to Christianity, Jesus never called it Christianity. He called it the way. Okay. And what's even more interesting is dating all the way back to ancient times. Before, whenever people are into astrology, like looking up at the stars and seeing all the constellations, is Mercury in retrograde, or whatever, right? Like, what is your what's your zodiac? Capricorn, right? So what it means to be a Capricorn is that's your sun sign. That means that whenever the moment that you were born, the sun was in the sign of Capricorn. That's what makes you a Capricorn. The same thing for me.
For real?
Yeah. So the same thing for me, whenever I was born, the sun was in the sign of Taurus. So that's your sun sign. And opposite of that, you have your moon sign. So my moon sign is a Scorpio. And so we have all these different aspects, and if you look into astrology, you can really learn a lot about yourself, like crazy. Like, how is it possible that people were able to map the stars and know more about me than I know about myself? Like, it is crazy, down like specifically to the things that you don't even think about. But before it was called astrology, do you know what it was called? It was called the way.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Dang. What?
It's pretty.
That's
it's all
crazy.
It's all intertwined.
Wow.
So, that's what we're here to do, baby, is just learn. So, all right, let's go on to number 19. The rule concerning moments of inner peace is simple. Following it is also simple. However, the rule leads to results only when the practice of it is as sincere and rigorous as it is simple. Therefore, it will be plainly stated how this rule is to be followed. So, it's simple, it ain't easy kind of deal, right? Number 20. As students of the Spirit, we must set aside a brief period of time in daily life in which to focus on things that are quite different from the objects of our daily activity. The kind of activity we engage in must also differ from what occupies the rest of our day. This is not to say, however, that what we do in the minutes we have set aside is unconnected with the content of our daily work. On the contrary, we soon realize that if approached in the right way, such moments give us the full strength for completing our daily tasks. We need not to fear that following this rule will actually take time away from our duties. If someone really cannot spare any more time, 5 minutes a day is sufficient. What matters is how those 5 minutes are used. So what he's kind of talking about is like meditation or reflection or prayer or something to where you can get away. Just go away and have your inner reflection, but you have to make it a daily practice. Number 21. In these moments, we should tear ourselves completely out of our everyday life. Our thinking and feeling lives should have a quite different coloring than they usually have. We should allow our joys, sorrows, worries, experiences, and actions to pass before our soul. But our attitude toward these should be one of looking at everything we have experienced from a higher point of view. Consider in ordinary life how differently we perceive what other people have experienced or done from the way we perceive what we ourselves have experienced or done. This must be so. We are still interwoven with what we experience or do, but we are only onlookers of other people's experiences or acts. In the time we have set aside for ourselves, then we must strive to view and judge our own experiences and actions as though they belonged to another person.
Damn. Wow, because that's sincere. That makes it sincere.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's what you'll hear. And eventually we're going to do near-death experience episodes. And as a matter of fact, I think our next episode is with a near-death experiencer who's going to, he died for a couple of minutes, came back, and has a story to tell. We have him on the next episode.
Let's go.
But most of the time, what you'll hear is that whenever they die, they almost everybody experiences what is called a life review. Okay? A life review, meaning you go back to every single moment that you ever experienced, and you experience it through your eyes so that you can see, some of the mistakes and the struggles and the trauma and the happy times and the good times and the bad times and everything in between. You get to experience literally all of it, and it happens in a moment, right? And conversely, not only do you experience it from your side, you experience what it was like for each person that you impacted. So every single time that you mistreated somebody, or you loved somebody, or you showed respect, or you hated on somebody, or you judged somebody, or you were there for somebody, all the good and all the bad, you experience you through their eyes. That's what he's trying to say right here, and that's why he's trying to implement it. Because of all the people who have experienced this in near-death experiences, it must be important, right? So it's important to be able to see from not only your perspective, but from everybody else's.
Dang, dude, we're just spiritually developing and learning more information in things that we don't have to look back on and be like, damn, if I just knew that, maybe we're coming up with some of the future things right now, man.
Oh, it's deep. Yeah, it's as deep as it gets. But this is only the surface.
Right.
So, for example, imagine you have had a serious misfortune. You naturally regard your own misfortune differently than you would for that of another person. This attitude is quite justified. It is simply human nature. Indeed, it comes into play not only in exceptional circumstances, but also in the events of everyday life. As students of higher knowledge, we must find the strength to view ourselves as we would view strangers. We must face ourselves with the inner tranquility of a judge. If we achieve this, our own experiences will reveal themselves in a new light. As long as we are still woven into our experiences and stand within them, we will remain as attached to the non-essential as to the essential. But once we have attained the inner peace of the overview, the non-essential separates itself from the essential. Sorrow and joy, every thought, every decision will look differently when we stand over against ourselves in this way. It is as though we spent the whole day somewhere and saw everything, small and large, at close range, and then in the evening climbed a neighboring hill and enjoyed an overview of the whole place at once. Then the various parts of the town and their relationships to each other would appear very different from when we stood among them. Of course, one cannot succeed in achieving such a transcendent perspective toward whatever experience destiny daily brings us, nor is it necessary to do so. However, as students of the spiritual life, we must strive to develop this attitude toward events that occurred in the past. This value of such inner, peace-filled self-contemplation depends less upon what one contemplates and more upon finding the inner strength that such inner calm develops. It's almost poetry, you know?
Yeah.
Number 22. For all human beings, in addition to what we may call the ordinary, everyday self, also bear within themselves a higher self or higher human being. This higher human being remains concealed until it is awakened, and it can be awakened only as each of us individually awakens in it within ourselves. Until then, the higher faculties are latent within each one of us, and that leads to supersensible knowledge, remaining hidden. So until we're able to tap into that higher, some people call it the higher self or the oversoul or, the subconscious or what have you. But essentially, whenever you're able to kind of look down at the old you and be like, oh, okay, I see it now from a higher perspective, because the old me would have, maybe experienced or reacted this kind of way. But that because I'm seeing from this higher advantage, now you're able to kind of fully envelop and see it from a higher perspective, really. Number 23, we must continue to observe this rule seriously and faithfully until we feel the fruits of inner calm and tranquility. For each of us who does this, a day will come when all around will become bright with spirit. Then, to eyes we did not know that we had, a whole new world will be revealed. That's that third eye opening right there, baby. That's what that's all about. Number 24. Nothing needs to change in our outer lives because we begin to follow this rule. We carry out our duties as before. In the beginning, too, we endure the same sufferings and experience the same joys. We must not in any way become alienated from, in quotes, life. On the contrary, we become able to live life more fully the rest of the day just because we are acquiring a higher life in those moments that we set aside. So talking about in that meditation or in that prayer or whatever, the introspection, you're allowed, like whenever you set time away for that, it's essentially a reminder to don't succumb to the nature of this, kind of mundane world with all the negative realities and all that kind of stuff. Allow yourself to be able to see everything from a higher perspective and not succumb to the negative illusions of the world. As this higher life makes its influence more and more felt in our ordinary established lives, the calm of our contemplative moments begins to affect our everyday existence. Our whole being becomes more peaceful. We act with greater confidence and certainty in all of our undertakings. We do not lose composure in the face of all kinds of events. Slowly, as we continue on the path, we increasingly come to guide ourselves, as it were, rather than allowing ourselves to be led by circumstances and outer influences. Before long, we realize that the moments set aside each day are a great source of strength for us. For example, we gradually cease to become angry about the things that used to annoy us and are no longer afraid of many things that used to frighten us. Instead, we acquire a whole new outlook on life. Hitherto, we may have approached what we had to do hesitantly, saying to ourselves, "Oh, I don't have the strength to do this as I would like to." Now, however, such thoughts no longer occur to us. We are more likely to say, "I shall gather up my strength and do my task as well as I possibly can." We suppress any thought that could make us tentative because we know that hesitation can lead to a poorer performance, or at least can do nothing to improve the execution of what we have to do. Wow.
I like it, dude.
Don't hesitate. Just
That's
go
an
for
unlock right there.
Dude, it's all a key. It's all a key. Thus, thought after thought, fruitful and beneficial for the affairs of our lives, begins to permeate our interpretation of life. These new thoughts replace the thoughts that previously weakened and hindered us. In the process, we begin to steer a safe and steady course through the ups and downs of life rather than being tossed around by them. And I've talked in the past about, how I went through like a 2 or 2.5 month kind of really treacherous point in my life. It was the most hard time I've ever experienced in my life, was just a few months ago. And I've said that it was kind of an initiation. But I tell you what, I would not have been able to get through any of that the way that I did if it wasn't for this spiritual journey that we're all kind of a part of right here. Because, dude, I was literally on the verge of killing somebody. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, I was literally on the verge of doing it. And because of this spiritual journey, it's like, okay, see it from a higher perspective, see that it was all meant to happen. Everything happens for a reason. It's all one thing. There's no reason to get stressed about it. It's almost like, if I would have succumbed to that, all of that is just, it's temptation. It's calling upon your animalistic, thing inside of you. And I don't know about you, I'm not trying to identify as a fucking animal anymore. Like, I don't want to be that animal. I want to obtain the higher knowledge. I want to understand, the higher respects of what it means to be not only a human, but what it means to be a soul, what it means to be a consciousness, Like, think about it like this, like a deer reacts, an antelope reacts, like a dog reacts, a cat reacts. It's almost like they have no free will because their reaction is the will that is overtaking them. You know what I'm saying? So instead of just automatically reacting, the idea is to take a step back, think about what it is that you're doing, don't instantly react, and go on about what your next steps are going to be after you've taken a moment to sit there and meditate and think about it.
Process.
Abso-freaking-lutely. So
I like it, dude. Patience. Patience, young grasshopper.
Patience, yes.
Who used to say that? Somebody said that. It was funny.
Number 25. Such inner calm and certainty affect our whole nature. Our inner person grows, and with it, inner faculties that lead to higher knowledge. As we progress in this direction, we become increasingly able to control the effect that impressions from our outer world have upon us. For example, we may hear someone say something to hurt or anger us. Before we begin esoteric training, this would have made us feel hurt or anger. Now, however, because we're on the path of inner development, we can take the hurtful or annoying sting out of another person's words before it finds its way into our innermost being.
Wow.
Isn't that exactly what I was just saying? It's crazy. It was just the next thing.
Yep.
Another example. Before beginning to follow this path, we may have been quick to lose our patience when we had to wait for something. But now, having started on the path and becoming pupils in the school of esoteric study, we imbue ourselves in the contemplative moments so fully with the realization that most impatience is futile that whenever we feel any impatience, it immediately calls this realization back to mind. The impatience that was about to take root thus disappears, and the time we would otherwise have wasted in expressions of impatience can now be filled with some useful observation that we may make while we wait.
Okay.
It's teaching you not to be the fucking animal, dude. That's really what's going on here. Number 26. We should realize the scope and significance of all these changes. The quote-unquote higher self within us evolves continuously. Only such inner calm and certainty has been described that has been described can ensure that its evolution unfolds organically. If we are not masters of our own lives but are ruled by life, then the waves of the outer life press in upon our inner self from all sides, and we are like a plant trying to grow in a cleft of a rock. Unless it is given more space, the plant will be stunted. Outer forces cannot create the space our inner being needs to grow. Only the inner calm created in the soul can do so. Outer circumstances can change only our outer life situation. They can never awaken the spiritual person within. As esoteric students, we ourselves must give birth to a new, higher being within us. Let's go, dude. 27. This higher self then becomes the inner ruler, directing the affairs of the outer person with a sure hand. As long as the outer being has the upper hand and guides us, the inner self remains its slave and cannot unfold its powers. If other people can make me angry, I am not the master of myself. Or rather, better stated, I have not yet found the inner ruler. In other words, I must develop the inner faculty of allowing the impressions of the outer world to reach me only in ways that I myself have chosen. Only if I do this can I become a student of the occult. Wow. So
It's a must.
So essentially it's like, if I piss you off, there was two things that happened. I acted and I pissed you off, right? But you allowed that energy of me pissing you off inside of you. So it's a twofold action now. So instead, if somebody pisses you off or tries to do something that would piss you off, you block it at the gate. And you're like, I'm not going to allow that emotion to manifest within me because I don't like the way it makes me feel. And then it causes a ripple effect throughout the rest of my day. Because if I'm pissed at one point, it's like a body in motion tends to stay in motion. So if I'm pissed now, there's a greater chance that I'm going to be pissed later. And I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that shit flower to blossom inside of me.
Right. Hell no.
So
Stop it right there.
And that's what he's saying, that if you allow other people to piss you off, you're essentially allowing them to be your master in that moment.
Wow, you're at fault now.
Yeah. It's
awesome.
It's never about what happens to you in life. It's about how you react to it. That's the real shit behind it. So, only a person striving sincerely for this ability can reach the goal. How far we advance in a certain amount of time is unimportant. What matters is only that our seeking be sincere. Many work on themselves for years without noticeable progress, and then suddenly, if they have not despaired, but they remained unshakable, they attain the inner victory. Number 28. Of course, in many life situations, great strength is needed to create such moments of inner peace. But the greater the effort required, the more meaningful the achievement accomplished. On the path to knowledge, all depends upon whether we can face ourselves and all our deeds and actions energetically with inner truthfulness and uncompromising honesty, as though we were strangers to ourselves. Wow. So it's essentially you eventually get to this point. The goal is that you eventually get to this point that you identify, once you have access to this higher self, this higher version of yourself that you're able to recognize within you. Once you have access to that, you almost are allowing yourself to separate from yourself. It's like a split. You're essentially creating a split inside yourself because now you have your physical body and the things that you do in order to react and talk with other people and work and all that kind of stuff. But then you also have this higher version, this higher self of yourself. And the goal is that you want your higher self to be the master of your lower self. You want your lower self to be a slave to your higher self, essentially. That's the goal that you want to do. And so whenever people talk about developing patience or developing muscle in the gym or developing dietary, good eating habits or what have you, like the body doesn't want to do any of that, right? But it's something higher within you that is saying, I don't care what you want, body. You're my slave. You work for me, and that's kind of the idea. So,
and I imagine that takes a lot of discipline too. To start doing this and like being honest, like to the point where like you're honest about somebody else. You know what I mean? Now be honest about yourself, dude. And that takes some work. It takes some discipline. You know what I mean? You got to stop yourself and be like, hold on, what's important? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
and that's the growth.
And the idea is that you eventually grow out of the need for motivation. Like a lot of people, they almost use motivation as their fuel to exert themselves and to do things that they don't want to do. But you need that motivation, right? Like maybe you need a pep talk, or maybe you need a little pre-workout to get in the gym, or whatever. You need some kind of motivation in order for you to do it. It's almost like, like a little bit of magic in order to help you on your way. But if you're able to develop discipline, you don't really need that motivation anymore. Like it doesn't matter. You can have the motivation. It helps, but that's not your fuel anymore,
Right. Now, even when I don't feel like it, I'm going to do it.
That's exactly right. Yes. So now, number 29. We're almost there. Number 29. Yet the birth of our own higher self marks only one side of our interactivity. Something else is also needed. When we look upon ourselves as strangers, it is still only ourselves that we are contemplating. We see the experiences and actions connected to us by the particular course of life we have grown through. But we must go beyond that. We must arise to see the purely human level that no longer has anything to do with our own particular situation. We must reach the point of contemplating those things that concern us as human beings as such, completely independent of the circumstances and conditions of our particular life. As we do this, something comes to life within us that transcends what is personal or individual. Our view is directed toward worlds higher than those our everyday life brings us. We begin to feel, to experience, that we belong to these higher worlds of which our senses and everyday activities can tell us nothing. The center of our being shifts inward. We listen to the voices that speak within us in our moments of serenity. Inwardly, we associate with the spiritual world. Removed from our daily round, we become deaf to its noise. Everything around us grows still. We put aside everything that reminds us of our outer impressions. Quiet inward contemplation and dialogue with the purely spiritual world completely fills our soul. For students of the spirit, this quiet contemplation must become a necessity of life. At first, we are wholly absorbed in a world of thought. We must develop a living feeling for this silent thinking activity. We must learn to love what streams toward us from the spirit. Then we shall soon cease to accept this world of thought as less real than the everyday life surrounding us. Instead, we will begin to work with our thoughts as we do with our material objects. And then the moment the moment will approach when we begin to realize that what is revealed to us in the silence of inner thinking activity is more real than the physical objects around us. We experience that life speaks in this world of thoughts. Holy shit. Let's go. That's what it's all about, dude. Because you almost got to baby it. You got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run, and all this kind of stuff. And that's why he didn't start out with that one. He was like, all right, first you have to develop this thing called a higher self. And we all have it. It's just something, like he was saying, it's kind of hidden within us. But once we can access that point and see the world and see ourselves from that vantage point, now we begin to work with that every day, and we sit with that in meditation, and we think with that higher mind. And once you're thinking with that higher mind, you almost become so associated with it that it's more real than all physical reality around you. And that is what allows you to perceive what ordinary people with just ordinary sets of two physical eyes can't necessarily perceive. And that's what he was talking about, like, you know, seeing an aura or seeing the magic in this world rather than just seeing it for its mundaneness.
Yeah.
So
Small goals, dude. Start from the bottom and work your way up. And by the time you get it, I don't know, a dozen or more in, you're probably going to be on fire for this stuff and hitting on all cylinders. And you're going to just advance so fast that it's going to be, these harder things are going to be easy. You know what I'm saying? At that point.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the goal is, I mean, it's all you.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you never forget. It's all you, you know? So it's just higher aspects of you. And it's not to say that you've never experienced what life is like through any of these higher aspects. You have experienced what it's like at certain moments. This is just trying to get you to corral that. This is saying that, like, look, you don't have to only experience that sometimes. You can experience that all the time. Let's go on to the next part. We realize that thoughts are not mere shadow pictures and that hidden beings speak to us through thoughts. Hidden beings speak to us through thoughts. Let's go. This is where you get like the psychics and whatnot.
Hold on. Repeat that one more time.
We realize that thoughts are not mere shadow pictures and that hidden beings speak to us through thoughts.
Damn. Okay. I'm ready.
This is that spiritual shit, bro.
I feel like I feel like I'm already levitating, if you will.
It's an awesome feeling.
What do you call those? Cities?
Cities. Yep. Yeah, dude.
All right, let's move on, dude. This is crazy. Let's go.
Previously, we could hear speech only with our ears, but now words resound in our souls. An inner speech, an inner word is disclosed to us. The first time we experience this, we feel supremely blessed. Our outer world is suffused with an inner light. The second life begins for us. A divine, bliss-bestowing world streams through us. There's magic to all of this. You got to take the little steps on the way up there, but the payoff is it's better than any mansion you could buy, hotter than any girl you could get, hotter than any man you can get if that's what you're into, or whatever. Like, it is the best thing that you could ever imagine. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's happening within you. It's the beauty.
Life-changing.
Number 30. This life of the soul in thoughts, gradually broadening into life in spiritual beingness, is called spiritual science or gnosis meditation, which is contemplation and reflection. Meditation, in this sense, is the way to supersensible knowledge. So this higher knowledge is what he calls supersensible knowledge. We should not lose ourselves in feelings in those moments of meditation, nor should our souls be filled with vague sensations. This would only keep us from attaining true spiritual insight. Our thoughts should be clear, sharp, and precise. We will find a way of achieving this if we do not stay blindly with the thoughts arising within us. Rather, we should fill ourselves with high thoughts that more advanced and spiritually inspired souls have thought in similar moments. Here, our starting point should be writings that have themselves grown out of meditative revelations. We may find such texts in works of mystical, Gnostic, or spiritual scientific literature. These texts provide the material for our meditations. After all, it is the seekers of the Spirit who have themselves set down the thoughts of divine science in such works. Indeed, it is through these messengers that the Spirit has permitted these thoughts to be made known to the world. Yeah, dude. There's spiritual masters all over the place. In reading, so we talked about theosophy. The woman who created theosophy is Helena Blavatsky, and she talks about how she's gone on journeys and she's come in contact with these adepts, is what she calls them. These adepts are essentially like people who have mastered what it means to literally be the higher self, not think about it, not be it sometimes, but they are the higher selves. Essentially, they are like the higher soul of themselves. They've mastered this. They've worked their entire lives for this. And these people are the ones that are able to levitate. Dude, they can do such amazing things that she talked about. They can materialize objects in front of you. So like legit magic. So for example, these people are in, let's say, in the Himalayan mountains, right? If they're over there, but in their mind, they can travel anywhere in the world and literally be there. Call it remote viewing or astral projecting or what have you. But not only can they themselves go other places while sitting in one place, they can also materialize objects in front of you, no matter how far away they are from you. So, and this is what was called what was it called? So these masters are otherwise known as the Mahatmas, is what she calls them, but they're essentially masters, right? But within that, you have these are called the Mahatma letters. And throughout Helena Blavatsky's life, these masters were talking to her all the time, writing letters and doing all this kind of stuff. But the crazy thing is that these letters would materialize out of thin air. Like they would just show up. Because once you become so associated with your inner world, once your inner world becomes more real than the outer world, then there's nothing that you can't do in the outer world. Because the outer world is only a reflection of what is going on within your inner world. It essentially, life turns into a fucking dream to where you've become lucid and you realize you can fly. Like that's really like kind of the basis around all this. Just trying to show you like some of the things that can come from this. You know, not to say that those are the only reasons, but just to say like it ain't nonsense. There's some craziness to all of it. So now where are we? We should not lose ourselves in feelings in these moments of meditation. I read that part. Yes. Okay. Number 31. We only have 3 more. Practicing such meditation will completely transform us. We begin to form quite new ideas about reality. Things take on a different value for us. Yet such transformation does not make us unworldly. In no way does it estrange us from our daily responsibilities. This path teaches us that the most trivial tasks that we have to carry out and the most trivial experiences that come our way are woven together with great cosmic beings and world events. Once this interconnection becomes clear to us in our moments of contemplation, we will enter our daily round of activities with new and increased strength, because now we know that all our work and all our suffering are work and suffering for the sake of a great spiritual cosmic interrelationship. Thus, meditation produces not indifference, but strength for life. Okay. Number 32. Consequently, students of higher knowledge walk through life with confidence, holding their heads high, regardless of what life may bring them. Before, they did not know why they worked and suffered. Now they know. Naturally, such meditative activity will lead to its goal more easily if it is practiced under the guidance of someone with experience who knows from personal knowledge how to best do it. Therefore, we would do well to consider the advice and instructions of such people. We certainly will not thereby lose our freedom or independence. Such guidance turns uncertain groping into work with a clear end. If we listen to those with knowledge and experience, we will never ask for guidance in vain. Nevertheless, we must understand that we are seeking only the advice of a friend, not domination by someone who wants to have power over us. We will always find that those who truly know are the most humble and that nothing is more alien to them than any lust for power. Damn. Okay. Alien, like lust for power is alien. I don't know it. Never heard of it. You know? Now, number 33, which I love that there was 33. Okay, just want to throw it out there. 33 is known within the Freemasons. It's known as the highest degree in which you can evolve to. And also, the reason why 33 is such a powerful number, well, it's known as like a master number, right? But it's also known as, so whenever you have water and ice, so water freezes at 32 degrees. Once it goes to 33 degrees, it starts becoming water. Ice becomes water. So no longer are you stuck in time. You're not frozen anymore. You have now become fluid in your understanding. That's the idea of the 33rd degree.
Wow. Solid to liquid. That's cool, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So number 33, finally, here we are. When we raise ourselves through meditation to what unites us with the spirit, we quicken something within us that is eternal and unlimited by birth and death. Once we have experienced this eternal part in us, we can no longer doubt its existence. Meditation is thus the way to knowing and beholding the eternal, indestructible, essential center of our being. Only meditation can lead us to this vision. Gnosis and spiritual science speak of the immortality of this essence and of its reincarnation. It is often asked why we do not know anything of our experiences before birth and after death. This is the wrong question. Rather, we should ask, how can we attain such knowledge? Meditation, properly carried out, opens the way to such knowledge. Meditation brings to life memories of experiences that lie beyond birth and death. Each of us can attain this knowledge. Each of us possesses the capacities to see firsthand what true mysticism, spiritual science, and anthroposophy, I can never fucking say that word, anthroposophy, I'm sure I'm butchering that. Whatever he created, whatever. You know what I mean. And Gnosis teach. We have but to choose the right means. Only a being with ears and eyes can perceive sounds and colors. But even the eye can see nothing when the light that makes things visible is lacking. Spiritual science offers us a method of developing our spiritual ears and eyes and of kindling the spiritual light. 3 stages in this method of spiritual schooling may be distinguished. Number 1, this is what you were going to get to, the 3 stages.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, preparation, which develops our spiritual senses. Number 2, illumination. Oh, scary, the Illuminati, they sacrifice. No, that's not what he's talking about. It's the illumination. It's lighting the light within you.
Enlightenment.
Yes. Illumination, which kindles the spiritual light. And number 3, initiation, which initiates our relationship with higher spiritual beings. These stages will be discussed in the following chapters. That's all she wrote. Crazy, right?
Yes, indeed.
I feel like you learned a little something.
I learned a lot. 'Cause I didn't know any of that, really. I mean, a little bit of it was in context with what I've looked at and heard and that, but dude, I would love to just start off right where you left off. As perfect as that sounds.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, these are the steps of the process toward preparing for initiation.
Yeah.
And it only gets better. But this is perfect. It's a window into what we have to look forward to. And because look, if the light is off and nobody's home, you're never going to know what lies within there. You're never going to know what furniture they have. You never know what, like if you're a peeping Tom or whatever. I don't know why I fucking took it there, but if you're one of those people, just to use it as an allegory, you're never going to be able to see that they have a Christmas tree in the window or anything like that. If the lights are off, there's nothing home, there's nobody home, you're not gonna be able to see inside. Basically, the house is your soul. Like if that light is off, then you're not gonna be able to understand what actually lies dormant within you because that light has been off for so long, whether it's, because of the way that you were raised or the things that you were taught that kind of go against what this is saying. But there's magic within each one of us. And the reason why there's magic within each one of us, I believe, is because there is no separation from anything. We're all made of the same thing. We are not only we all made of the same thing, we are all the same thing. We're just consciousness experiencing what it would be like to live the life of Cody.
Same
thing. And what I am, I'm just consciousness that's trying to figure out what it's like to experience what it would be like to experience to live the life of Jonathan. It's the idea that, let's say, I'll give you an example. If I, instead of being born as Jonathan, but I was instead born as you, I would have made every single decision that you have made in your entire life. If you think about it like that, I would have made every single decision that you have made. I would have made the same thing because I am the same thing that you are. It's just that our circumstances led us in different directions because we're different individuals, seemingly anyway, right?
Yeah.
So that right there kind of tells you that it's all one thing, dude. That's really how it would go.
Wow, that's a trip.
It is a trip. So give me 1 second. I'm going to shuffle these tarot cards up. By the way, Code, every single episode, at the end of every episode, we shuffle the tarot cards and we pull one card, and usually, the card lines up with whatever the frequency of the show was. So you're going to have your fucking mind blown every single time. But give me 1 minute.
Don't anger at all, really, huh? Don't allow anger to even come up.
I mean, it's okay to sense anger, but it's not okay to allow that anger to fill your entire being.
Oh, to change your world for you.
Yes, yes.
Ah, okay.
Because all of these emotions, look at it like this. Every single emotion that you have is a drug, and that drug will consume you. Okay?
Correct.
So it's like, if you've ever smoked weed, if you ever had a sip of alcohol, if you've ever done cocaine, if you've ever done mushrooms, if you ever done anything, if you've ever, even outside of drugs and alcohol, if you've ever felt lust, it overtakes you. Like, you're almost not you anymore. You become the lust. As Jim Leahy used to say on the Trailer Park Boys, I am the alcohol. Okay? I am the liquor. Right? Like, dude, it was a funny thing when he said it, but like now you see it through different eyes, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, this is hilarious. All right, so the card that popped out is this one right here, the Knight of Wands.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks cool.
Yes. So the Knight of Wands.
Got a sword on there? Do you have a sword on that picture? And he was on a horse?
It's not a sword, it's a wand.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's kind of like just like a long branch or like a stick of swords, right?
Okay.
So the Knight of Wands. The quest for action drives this knight to swoop in and take the lead, delivering swift results. Knights in the tarot are depicted on horseback, returning from a noble quest to present you with an elemental item that you requested. On the Knight of Wands card, the combination of air and fire ignites a flame to blazing proportions, propelling him to take bold action without fear of getting hurt. The salamanders on his tunic, symbolic of this creature's fireproof skin, protects the Knight of Wands in addition to the armor that he wears. He rides swiftly across a barren landscape, holding a budding wand, symbolic of new ideas and growth. This knight is passionate and brave, and puts words into actions to get the job done. Sometimes he may be a little too ambitious and hasty, but usually his success is ensured. That's what he was saying. This whole book so far has all been about like, you got to ignite that fire within you. And if you keep that fire, then you're going to illuminate other things within you and other things around the world. But you have to keep that passion. You got to keep that admiration and all of those good things. But it's pretty cool. So there's a spiritual part of this as well. It says you're busily enjoying movement and action on your goals, possibly moving houses. You just moved. You're new.
I did. Second day here.
Good news and support are on their way to help you make progress if you have been delayed or feeling stuck in a situation. Nobody was more stuck than you were. Your enthusiasm for life in general is finally returning, giving you increased energy to apply to your passions. I think that one was for you. That was for you, Cody.
Come on. It might have been.
You needed that.
Yeah, I did.
But that's the beauty of the tarot. You know, there's a lot of cards in the tarot deck, and they all have very different meanings. But the fact that, you know, a random strange one seemingly out of nowhere for no particular reason to the person that doesn't understand tarot, it's like, that's crazy that card right there would pop out right at this moment in time, you know? And so it's all magical, dude. And the thing is that what I always say is the tarot cards aren't magic themselves. We are what makes it magic.
Wow.
Like it's the
Like
magic
the
within us.
frequency.
Yes, yes. So with that being said, we are, oh, Cody, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I got a couple things.
Let's hear it.
All right. So Rudolph Steiner, let's give it up for him real quick, man. Come on.
He's the man. Was the man.
Yes. I'm just now learning about him today. So, and again, if you're like me and you're new to all of this, again, I'm just going to kind of lay things out how I needed to hear them, and maybe you did too. Who knows? But anyway, so Rudolph Steiner in his work requires a student to transform everyday soul forces into spiritual organs of perception through what we were just talking about: preparation, enlightenment, and initiation. Okay. So now that we know that, I had to ask myself, I said, what? When I read that the first time, you know? And I had to ask myself, man, okay, what is an everyday soul force? What does an everyday soul force look like? First off. And so I found that it is a quiet power of living with absolute integrity, empathy, resiliency. It manifests in the small, deliberate choices you make every day to stand up for what is right. It is the practice of changing the world around you simply by refusing to let it compromise your peace and your principles. That's cool too, man, because I feel like, you know, we don't want to compromise our principles and peace. You know what I mean? But we do it sometimes. And I don't like it. I don't know about you. It makes me feel like shit.
It do.
When I have to do that, you know? And so and there's resilient calm, for example. And that's meeting hostility with calm grace, diffusing conversations. Calm grace, you know? That's pretty cool, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm new to this, so I'm trying to figure out now, okay, so requires a student to transform everyday soul forces into spiritual organs of perception. Again, I don't know what spiritual organs of perception really means, you know? So I look it up, and this to help y'all too, along with myself and whoever else, but spiritual organs of perception allows a person to perceive spiritual realities, higher dimensions, or divine truths. For example, Christian mysticism, the heart means the center of divine intuition, love, etc. Another example in the Hindu and Buddhist tantric, the third eye and crown acts as lenses to perceive energies. And a third example, subtle body, an entire energetic anatomy that parallel physical senses, allowing spiritual hearing, seeing, and tasting. Spiritual tasting.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what they talk about. Like another example of like your subtle body is like your astral body or your higher self body. Like this is the thing that continues to exist forever. You always have it, even whenever your physical body dies. You always have that subtle body, that astral body, that source body, whatever you want to call it. The spark within, that's what that is. And so through that, through experiencing thought and expression in life, through that mechanism, we're able to experience things that maybe the normal everyday person wouldn't experience, you know, because you're developing this ability to connect with that subtle body.
I like it. So now that we know what the spiritual organs of perception mean, how is this done? And they say through preparation, enlightenment, and initiation. So preparation Okay, there's 6 fundamental attitudes and daily exercises that we can do. And like I was saying earlier, there's things that we can start right here tonight if we wanted to. Maybe in the morning, you know what I mean? But sooner rather than later. Let's get to it. You know what I mean? But so anyway, so these are some things that we can do to just start our journey and just get into it. You know what I mean? Here and now. So the first fundamental attitude or daily exercise is to control of thought processes. Direct your thinking consciously. Exercised by focusing on one object for a few minutes every day, observing every detail, top to bottom, banishing every irrelevant thought besides that of which the object has to offer. So we're locked in. We're locked in on this thing. You know what I mean? And we're every detail we want to know about it. We want to look at this pencil eraser. We want to look at this pencil piece of metal on it. The wood, maybe the tree that it came from, what the process took that somebody had to, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
you're
so I
essentially
thought
like looking at the past lives of all of the mineral and material that was used to make that. Like
Yes.
what that wood had to go through in order to come to its final form of a pencil.
Dude. So, okay, so that's something that we can start here tonight or in the near future. And also we can learn how to control control our will impulses. So we can exercise these by performing a small chosen action every day at the exact same time. This strengthens willpower and prevents you from becoming a slave to mere habits and impulses. Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, a lot of people are slave to their habits. And honestly, the difference between a habit and a ritual, there's a main difference between a habit and a ritual, because essentially what you're trying to develop is ritual. What was unconsciously developed was a habit. Like you didn't intend to get addicted to nicotine. That was kind of like an unconscious habit, right? And eventually over time you just became addicted and now you can't get enough of it, and that's how it goes. That's how it goes for me.
Sure.
A ritual is something where you intend to form a habit. Okay? So intentional. Yes, it's an intentional thing, because anything that you do for the first time is always going to feel weird. Maybe you're not going to fully understand it. You're not going to be able to fully grasp it. But over time of doing it every day or multiple times a day or what have you, it becomes more and more and more familiar. And so it's a intentional habit building is essentially what ritual is. Like if you think about it, nobody really wants to brush our teeth. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would rather not have to do that. But you set the intention of like, yo, I ain't trying to walk around here with fucking yellow teeth. Like, I don't want disgusting breath. I want to be able to kiss somebody and them not like be repulsed by me. Like that would be nice. You know what I mean? And so you set that intention of, and that's just a tiny example of a ritual. That's why whenever people wake up, they'll ask you, what's your morning ritual? Right? Like, what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Well, you probably go to the bathroom and maybe you got to pee or whatever. Then you brush your teeth and maybe you put on your moisturizer or whatever it is. Right. And that's your morning ritual. And that's just a small use of the word ritual. It goes far beyond that, but that's essentially what you're doing.
I got you. So that's cool, man. I mean, I feel like that's something that we can all do, like pretty simple things, you know what I mean? And these things are now making us better and more aware. You know what I mean? It's the small things, I feel. Another thing is emotional balance and your calmness. You were talking about this a little bit earlier. I feel like being calm is everything. You know, you'll miss things if you're not calm, or you'll react a certain way if you're not calm. You know what I mean? You can pay attention better if you're calm, know?
Oh, yeah.
So emotional balance, develop composure in the face of joy and sorrow, intentionally controlling reactions to fear anger, pain, and excitement. So now you're controlling your composure, whether it's for the grandest of all things happen to you or the worst of all things happen to you. The biggest, somebody in the family got in a car accident, or the worst tragic thing happened, and you're able to compose yourself and keep yourself level. You know what I mean? So that's got to take some work for maybe certain things, even excitement. Because when I get excited, dude, I'm like, what? You know what I mean? So even that, you could work on all that stuff and intentionally control the things that you have emotions for.
Oh yeah, dude. Small little steps like that.
Yes.
It's just about realizing that you have the ability to change instead of just react. Right.
And you see differences when you make these little changes. These little mannerisms that you switch, that you recognize them, and they do make huge differences in your life.
Oh,
so that's
yeah.
super cool.
Oh yeah, dude.
All right, number 4, positiveness in judgment. Actively train your mind to look for the good, positive in all people and circumstances. This is another thing you were talking about, man. So,
yeah, dude. Because whenever you look for the good, it's like I'll give you an example. It's like Jesus said that I am everywhere. Like essentially, like turn over a rock and I am there. Whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. Essentially, whenever he's saying that, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. He's saying, look, to put it in spiritual terms, he's saying, I am the consciousness that is everything else, and so are you, and so are you, and so are you. Right. So whenever you are ugly to somebody, or you're disrespectful, or skeptical, or what have you, to anybody else, you're doing that to the one consciousness, which is what you are. That's why if you ever notice, if you're ever a dick to somebody, you feel that resonating within you. Like, and you almost feel kind of bad. So not only were you a dick to that other person, you essentially were a dick to yourself. So whatever you do to the least of these, you also do to me. That's kind of like what that means.
Yes. Let's see what else we got here, man. All right, number 5, open-mindedness. Love that one, because that's what I'm now learning to do right now, man. Just be open-minded about everything, and I love it.
And you got to remind yourself of it too. It's not something that comes natural. Like naturally we want to judge, and naturally we want to, for some reason, just be our unevolved selves.
Why is that the natural state until you learn different?
What I mean? Well, it's a survival mechanism. Because if somebody, let's say, if you're constantly in survival mode, like being nice to someone is not necessarily something that you would do out in the wild. You're worried about protecting yourself. You're worried about protecting your youth. You're worried about protecting your home. And so, and so now you're more likely to take on like this angry, fucking, protective, mad, kind of mentality. And that's the animalistic mentality. Like try walking into a lion's den and see if it greets you.
Wow.
Like it's just not going to happen.
No.
And so being nice is not necessarily something that you learn to do in the wild.
But we're trying to get away from that animal perspective, so this is a good step. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, open-mindedness. Cultivating complete tolerance, faith, unbiased receptivity towards new experiences and beliefs, new situations and old. So, all right, let's jump over to number 6, inner balance. So the 6th step of this is actually an ultimate preparatory step, harmonizing all 5 of the above ones, achieving a steady rhythmic state of inner peace and equilibrium. So we're just putting all of these together now. We're just putting them together, which is cool. These are 6 ways that we could prepare in the preparation stage of, the 3 stages of
initiation.
Initiation, exactly. So preparation relies on moral development and patience, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's inwardly and outwardly.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
yeah, dude. Well, look, I'm happy that you were able to do a little bit of research and try and get a decent understanding about what we were diving into before the show. And I think that everybody will see that over time, like everybody has their evolution of their higher self throughout the courses of time. And sometimes it's easier to think than it is to say. It's hard to put into words sometimes. But as long as you know that it is a personal journey, it has to be a personal journey first. And you have to kind of take that on. And once you're able to take on that personal journey, you see that it's actually not, it was never just a personal journey. It was for everyone else too. Because now you're not, people don't have to walk on eggshells around you. People don't have to worry, or is he going to snap, or is she going to bitch, or is he going to complain, or is he going to react, or whatever, because they know that you've developed such a blooming, like, blossom of roses within you that not necessarily that it's impossible to piss you off, but it's, you don't necessarily react as everybody else would react. And so now you're emanating all of these kind of positive frequencies, and they like being around that, because if you're emanating positive frequencies, they're now accepting those positive frequencies inside of them. And now you're a pleasant person to be around, and now whatever you say and whatever you try and teach them, no matter how, minutely detailed, whatever it may be, somebody might just look at a rose, right? And they'll be like, oh yeah, it's just a rose, as much thorns, it's red, whatever, right? But you being as thoughtful and emanating such a beautiful power of source light, or whatever you want to call it, are able to look at the fine details of it. And you can say, wow, over the course of thousands and thousands and thousands of years, this beautiful thing has been able to develop not only the look of beauty, but the smell of beauty. And it develops such a beautiful fragrance that whenever you smell it, it literally changes your brain chemistry. And wow. Upon that changing of that brain chemistry, you're now in a lighter mood. You're now in a more pleasant mood. And that pleasant mood was literally, that rose exists to make you feel pleasant. And that, in essence, if I'm really going here, within the Rosicrucians, okay? Within the Rosicrucians, they have a sign. It's a symbol, okay? They have the cross, the regular, like, Christian style cross, and in the center of that cross, where they intersect, where the lines intersect on the cross, they have a rose there. And the idea of the Rosicrucian is that it is the rosy cross, right? It is, and that's where you get Rosicrucian. It's the rosy cross. The idea of the cross, it is only a symbol. It's a symbol for man, or for humans, right? Like, it identifies us as we are the cross, essentially, right? That's just the physical, like, human body is the cross. That's what it identifies as. The rose is that spark, that beautiful fragrance within you, that whenever that blossoms, everybody else is now receiving that very wonderful fragrance that causes that brain chemistry to make them feel pleasant inside. So now you're making everybody feel pleasant inside. You're a pleasant person to be around because you've understood the higher concepts of life, and therefore anger is never going to bother you. It is just a thing that happens that you never really want to envelop, that because you know that if you envelop that emotion and that frequency of anger, you know that now it's going to not only emanate outside of you, but it's also going to emanate inside of you. And somebody who really knows you knows that you would never allow that to happen because you're consciously aware. And maybe they don't even know that. Maybe it's like only a subconscious thing that they're picking up on. But like, you know that it's so much easier to be around a person whenever they're easygoing. They don't expect much from you. It's not a transactional relationship. It's more of like a, hey dude, like it's easy to be around this kind of person. And typically you want to be around those kind of people.
Right.
And so that's the whole idea. That's kind of on the surface of it. But yeah, dude, I mean, these teachings go very, very, very deep. And that's what the initiation is for. It's not just for you, it's for the rest of the world.
Well, dude, speaking of the initiation, if I can just say one more thing here.
Please.
All right. So in the initiation stage, this is where I was like, boom, you know? So in the initiation stage, this is now moving now from intellectual understanding to now direct spiritual experience. So in this work, Rudolph would have a student now develop higher senses to view the spiritual world. And inside of that is two core experiences. You got the meeting of the lesser guardian of the threshold, and then you got the meeting of the greater guardian of the threshold. Once you get there, right? So, and this is after, you know, the preparation stage and the enlightenment. But, okay, so in the meeting of the lesser guardian of the threshold, dude, the student confronts often, for example, a terrifying manifestation of their own karma, or maybe their unredeemed desires, or even their flaws. Student must master this double before gaining safe access to the astral plane.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually I heard an interesting thing on this, that there are some spiritual teachers that will teach you that within meditation there's usually some kind of guards at the door in order for you to access the farther realms. And what they'll say is that, you know, for example, if in meditation you're finally breaking through and you see the door to walk through, to have that next greater experience, or to experience that higher realm that you've been trying to get to, but guarding that door is a lion, and it's just walking around and it's waiting for you to come fuck with it, right? Like it's inviting it. It wants you to try me, right? And you're like it animalistically, you know that you're just a human, and that's a tiger or that's a lion or whatever. You know that you can't, there's no way that a human could ever really like defeat a lion or a tiger, right? Like innately we would know that. However, if you come to the realization that lion or that tiger is just an animal, and you are no longer just a human, you are your higher self. You're a bad motherfucker, dude. There ain't nothing that you can't do. But you also don't want to try and overpower the lion. The idea is that you approach the lion, and instead of fighting it or something like that, the lion will open its mouth in order to intimidate you, right? And what you do, you crawl inside of its mouth and you go into it and you find the key. And that key will essentially open that door to that higher realm. And it's like things that you would never think to do. That's the way that's the way to go. And another example would be like, let's say you see the manifestation of whatever your greatest fear is, like whatever that thing is. And a lot of us don't even know what our greatest fear is until we come upon it. Like, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, dude. My greatest fear is abstraction. Like, I'm in fear of the abstract because, you know, and that was, so I've talked about like the last time I tripped balls was with Sean, right? Me and Sean were tripping on this thing called 4-ACO DMT. And on this, it's a psychedelic, right? Like it's like DMT and mushrooms had a baby. And it was scary, dude. And it's not that I saw, you know, a scary monster. It's not that I saw, you know, like, I don't even know, like the worst thing that you can imagine. It was beyond that. What I saw was my greatest fear is abstraction, is that whenever the word abstraction is like, it doesn't make sense. You know, like whenever you see something that you can't comprehend, it is so far beyond your level of ever comprehending it that it's like trying to figure out trigonometry in kindergarten. It's like it's so much, and my mind is just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, and I don't know what to do, and it causes such a fear, and I'm becoming anxious, and I'm becoming scared and fearful, and all of these things, and it like consumes me. And so maybe, you know, whenever I see that abstraction, let's just say that abstraction appears as I don't know, like a blob, okay, a blob of tiny little I don't know, little bits of information, let's just say, like, you know, like little computer bits, like little automated bits, right? And it's just a bunch of little sprinkled bits all over the damn place. And it's, you know, it's almost like a fuzzy TV, you know, the static of a TV. You just imagine that, right? And instead of being scared of that, one example is you go up to it and you give it a hug. Like the thing that you fear most, you go up and you give it a hug and you say, I love you. And I'm sorry that I was ever scared of you. Because, and the idea behind that is that if you realize that everything is one thing, then you're not separate from anything. And that thing that you're scared of, you're emanating that fear and you're emanating that scaring. You're emanating all of these negative kind of feelings, and it's only reacting based upon your reaction. And so instead of you being scared or reacting in a fearful kind of way, you go up to it, you give it a hug, you say, I love you. Look, I may not understand you, but I love you. You're me, I'm you. It's all one big thing. It just disperses. Wow. Just disperses.
Oh man, it's like not swatting a bee. You know what I mean? And then he's just chill. Like he'll land on your arm and not even sting you for whatever reason.
We went to so there's a water park out in Louisiana that we like to take the kids to. It's called Blue Bayou, and it's in Baton Rouge. And at the top of this one water slide, it's the best water slide they have in the park. At the top of this one water slide, I had all the kids with me. We're getting ready to go down this huge water slide. It's always the most fun. It's the purple and yellow one if you're from Baton Rouge. And at the top, they had like this huge, like those fucking big ass bumblebees, like huge bees, right? And they were swarming everything. And as a matter of fact, there was one that was just like following everybody. No matter where you went, it was just weaving in and around, and it was almost making circles. It was almost like testing people, and people were scared of it. And, you know, my daughter's like hiding behind me, get away from me. And she's all scared of it and everything. And I'm just standing there, dude, chill as a fucking pickle. Because if you're chill as a pickle in the moment of, you know, stress, then it's your distress signals that attracts that thing to want to attack you in the first place. That's really it. And so if you're chill and you're not worried and you're like, yo, that's just nature. That is awesome that bit of consciousness decided to incarnate as a bee in this moment in time. Like that's crazy, right? And like that bit of consciousness is experiencing what it's like to be a bee at a water slide in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at the moment that I'm there. Like, how special is that? You know, like, and if you think about it like that, it'll calm you down and it'll make you more chill. And therefore, you're not a threat to the bee, because the bee senses all of these other things that we don't have the ability to sense, at least not to a high degree, such as the bee does, right? And so that's kind of the idea, is not literally, as we talked about, do not fear. Like under any circumstance, do not fear anything, because fear never helped anybody. Fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no, and that's, you know, you can do it. It's possible. We can all do it, you know, especially when you got your karma looking you dead in the face. You know what I mean? And it's saying you can't advance until you master me. Have a calmness to me, patience. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Live with me. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's crazy, dude. So a composite form of all your past thoughts, actions, desires that weren't met. You know? You encounter the lesser guardian when you know you have consciously stepped out of the physical and crossed into the supersensible realm. And the lesser guardian comes to you in two forms. A terrible form, where the guardian appears frightening, or like takes the shape of a monster or something, because your faults, egos, imperfections are personified right in front of you.
Preach.
Wow. Okay, so that's one form that may come at you, in the lesser of the two guardians. So the other one is a spoken warning. The guardian will speak to you, maybe telepathically, letting you know it's built from your past and it must be transformed to move forward into the higher world. So like a more calm nature to it, not like I'm this big monster of all your past regrets and problems. It's more like, hey, this is the deal. This is what I am. Accept it or don't. But I'd like you to accept it so I can let you get through. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
I feel like ideally, that's what I would want. That form rather than the later one or the first one.
I mean, but you got to go through both of them. Is that what it was saying?
Oh, so both the forms. Well, it said that there was two forms. They can come to you by two forms.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think it necessarily means one after the next. It's just, I think it's like more like where you're at in your spiritual journey at that point. How far you've came. Did you do those small steps before you jumped right into the deep end? You know what I mean? So, that might dictate which of the two you'll get. So it's always good to be prepared, I feel like.
Oh yeah, dude.
So how do I know I mastered the lesser guardian? I came to ask myself, because I want to know when I have, because I might feel like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm doing good, but how do I really know that I'm there? Like I know it for a fact, bro. Like I'm ready to move on. You know what I mean? No fear at all, but in equilibrium with everything going on. It's sick.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess you'll know when you get there. And ultimately, like, your fears are essentially what holds you back. Like, there's never been a fear that has ever, like, pushed you forward.
Nope.
It's never happened. So, literally, like, fear is always to your detriment. It's false evidence appearing real, as they say.
Ooh, preach. So the absence of fear. So how do I know I mastered the lesser guardian? Absence of fear, dude, was the very first one, bro. You no longer have terror when you're looking at your own imperfections, because fear paralyzes spiritual sight. Calm equals readiness. Okay, so what's another way I can know I mastered the lesser of the guardians? Vow of transformation. Actively purify your character. Goal. Dedicate yourself to the service of humanity. Guardian changes to a beautiful, protective, guiding spirit, transforming flaws to virtues in daily life. So if you start to see this guardian that was a terror, and now it says that he's beautiful, he or she, whoever, is beautiful, protective of you. Like, okay, we're doing this together. We're in sync.
We're on the same team now.
We're on the same team, dude. And so now we're ready to go. You know what I mean? Once your soul is purified, you can withstand the sight of your true self. Then the guardian allows you to pass freely into the spiritual world. The greater guardian, though, unlike the lesser who confronts you with unresolved, the greater guardian appears sublime. How do you say that? Sublime?
Sublime.
Luminous. When your thinking, feeling, and willing are liberated from the body.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, what are some signs of that? You know what I mean? Recognition of Christ, the cosmic goal. The guardian reveals itself as future humanity and demands that you act purely out of selfless love.
Yeah, because ultimately anything that you want for yourself as like a selfish desire, most of the time it's not good for everybody else. You know,
Correct.
like if you're only worried about getting enough food for you, or if you're only worried about like if you're in a rush to get to work and you're speeding and you're weaving in and all throughout the traffic, you might get into a crash, you know, and with that crash, you're affecting other people's lives because now you just threw them off their path and now they got to call insurance and maybe they got hurt, maybe they got injured, maybe you ended their life all because you were selfish in that moment.
That's correct. And selfless love, like we're all trying to be on equilibrium with each other. We're the same conscience. You know what I mean? There should not be no just me. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's all one thing, dude.
Right. So another sign, choice of sacrifice. This is the greater guardian when you encounter him. He gives you the choice of sacrifice. This is about to get deep. You either remain in the bliss of the spiritual world or you direct your forces back to the physical plane to help others on their spiritual progress. Now you got to make a decision. Are you going to keep going? Because you made it this far and you did well. Well done.
Dude,
now, are you willing to give that up or keep moving forward?
Dude, I'm about to trip you the fuck out right now. I'm about to trip you out. A long, long time ago, I can still remember. So I got hypnotized a long time ago, like for a past life regression, and it was the second time I ever did it. And whenever I did it, I was like this. And people listening have heard this story probably 100 times. I'm sorry, but Cody's never heard it before.
Right.
But while I was hypnotized, I realized that like I was actually I thought that I was a guardian to a planet of people. Like I thought that that's what my job was, that I was just like kind of up there chilling in space. I didn't even realize what form I had taken. Maybe I was invisible. Maybe I was just an energy. I don't know. But it was so strange because I was literally out there just sitting in space and I'm looking at this planet that is just revolving, and it looked like Venus, like the color of Venus. I don't even know what that means, but it looked like the color, like that pastel kind of green that Venus is, right? And I remember like getting kind of sad while I was up there. I was like, man, people don't even know that I'm here to help them. Like they don't remember that I'm here to help them, because my entire purpose was to exist as a helping hand. I'm not saying that I was a god, but I almost feel like maybe I was like a guardian, like a watcher of sorts, to where they could call on me if they want in times of need, in times of if they needed a helping hand, what have you, but they forgot over time. And maybe they just looked at me like I was just some kind of myth, that they didn't even believe in me anymore. And that the people that did believe in me were almost like, shunned, and they were like, you still believe in that kind of thing? It's almost like still believing in Santa Claus, like that's the way that I felt. And so at that moment, I was like, man, I'm obviously not having any kind of impact on these people's lives. And at that moment, I went over to what I called the manager in the sky. Like, who could I go to express my concern, to be able to change the position that I'm in so that I can have a greater impact on the people that I'm trying to help, right? And I went over to this manager in the sky. He's sitting in this throne. And at the time, I didn't know who it was. It's only after reflection and thinking about it and learning about other things that I learned who that was, at least in this past life memory, right? But at the time, he's like this big guy, and he's sitting in this throne, like this big ass, like Game of Thrones kind of chair almost, right? And he has two pet wolves to his sides. And he's sitting there, big old burly beard, long hair. He has an eye patch on, and he's not really saying much. He's just kind of hearing me out. And I'm like, look, I want to be able to have more of an impact on people. They don't believe in me, or they don't even know that I exist. I was like, I really want to be able to get like some boots on the ground. I want to be able to impact other people in a better way, because me holding this position up here, it ain't doing shit anymore. It used to have an impact, but now it don't. And dude, he looked at me and he took his staff and he goes something like, your wish is my command, or so mote it be, or something like that. And he put it on my left shoulder. He took his staff, he put it on my right shoulder. Then he finally took his staff and placed it on my head. And as soon as he put it on my head, I was coming through the womb. I was being born as a human, right? Like this all happened in a past life regression. Now, What's interesting is that after all the books on my shelf just fell, is that this is who I saw. I saw Odin.
What?
I saw Odin up there. He's the one. He had a staff just like this. He had his two wolves. He had his eye patch. It's fucking Odin from Norse lore, right? And which is why I ended up buying this. I actually bought this in Lake Havasu. But I ended up buying it because I was like, oh my God, dude. Like I was some kind of, watcher or guardian up in the sky, and who granted me physical life was Odin. Now, whatever that means, I'm not even saying that that's absolutely what happens, or that's absolutely what happened, but that was an experience that I had. And so it's interesting that instead of going up and living in bliss or living in nirvana or living, in the highest enlightened form of yourself, that instead you decide to hang back and help everybody else along the way. That's, I made that decision. Like, look, I could just hang up here. Fuck them people. I achieved enlightenment. Like, but you realize that that's lonely. You don't want to just be selfish. What's the point of being selfish? It's like somebody who buys a bunch of shit and just hoards it all for themselves. It's like, what's the point of that? Like you only have two hands. You only have one ass to sit on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it don't matter if you have 19 cars or a bicycle, like you can only ride one of them at a time. So why hoard everything for yourself whenever, you can do stuff with everybody else? And so that's like the decision that I made. Now that was like super early on my journey, dude. This was 2020 whenever that happened. And, so it's just interesting that we're coming up on that now, because I felt like I experienced that in that past life regression.
That's great. That's a trip, man.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, dude. Like, I don't know. Did you feel like you just couldn't find spiritual growth at that time when you were before you made a decision and said you wanted to help out others with yourself? Were you in a state that you were all, I don't know where to go from here? You know what I'm saying? I've done all this and I've done all that, and I don't know if I want to do this, but I feel like it wouldn't matter if I did. I'm still here. You know what I mean?
I
now
felt
I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll go back.
Well, I felt like in that moment that it was my purpose to help people. Like it was my purpose to help people along their way. That every time somebody asked for my help and I gave them some kind of help, like it fueled me. It was like literally something like blossoming within me, that I was then able to like continue to survive and continue to thrive and continue to do what I was, meant to do and set out to do. And whenever people forgot about me or didn't believe in me or whatever anymore, now I couldn't help anybody. I literally had no reason to exist. And that's what I think. Like, if everything is truly all one thing, then why would you be so selfish in trying to only enlighten yourself anyway? Because to enlighten, like, the idea is that you want everybody to come along on this journey. Like, you want everybody to experience what you're experiencing. Otherwise, you're going to tell the story and nobody's going to know what the fuck you're saying. Nobody's going to understand what you're saying because you understand something at such a higher level that nobody else can connect with. And so that's why, even earlier when we were reading in the book, like whenever he was like, look, you ain't got to change you ain't got to change your personality whenever you're around other people. Stay the same person. Like you can still be cool. Like most other people shouldn't even be aware that you've made such a drastic change in your life. Because whenever you make that drastic change, it's almost a show off. And like, you don't want to be a show off because that's off-putting. Oh, it's like, oh, well, once I get enlightened, then I turn into a dick. Nobody wants that either,
Right.
So, anyway, what were you, did you have anything else to go on there?
Pretty much done, dude. The greater guardian, right? It demands that you act purely out of selfless love. Okay. And then it brings to the table an ultimatum, pretty much. This or that. Not an ultimatum, but a choice, to say the least. So then there's continuity, of conscious. You fully know the difference between the waking state the dream state, and now the spiritual worlds, which lack of fear about physical death.
Damn. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm so happy that our next episode is going to be with somebody who has had a near-death experience.
Oh, dude, I'm so
Everybody.
excited.
Everybody. And I mean literally every person who has had a near-death experience no longer fears dying. You know why? Because they died and they continued to exist.
Mhm.
It's like it's just the next stage. It's like
Wow.
you know, turning into an adult from being a kid. You know, it's a
Right.
natural progression. What it means to die is to have that natural progression on to the next lesson, essentially.
So you accomplish this threshold, right, with the greater of the guardians, when your personal ambition is entirely dissolved and your spiritual path becomes inseparable from salvation and the advancement of the earth.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, this is where people get hung up on. Basically, people follow Jesus because they believe that they'll be saved. But they don't even know what that saving means. Oh, well, Jesus died for my sins, and as long as I declare him Lord and Savior, now I've been saved, right? But what does that actually fucking mean? Because it makes no sense. Because it doesn't actually make sense. It's you've made yourself believe that it makes sense, but it doesn't actually make sense, right? The idea of salvation, and this is what theosophy, what Rosicrucians, and everybody else will say. A lot of other religions and philosophies and stuff like that will say that knowledge is your salvation. Like, knowledge is how you save yourself. Because without this knowledge, you're just going to succumb to the nature of the world. You're gonna do as everybody else does. You're never gonna grow. You're gonna be a fucking weed, and then eventually somebody will spray some Roundup on you, and then you'll crumble back down into the tiny little root, and eventually you'll grow back into a same old shitweed. But if you are constantly putting yourself around kind of higher-minded people and people that you want to learn from and knowledge that you want to learn from, books, videos, whatever, music even, doesn't matter. If you're trying to be on like this learning journey of how to better yourself in order to better the world, then that is how you achieve salvation. Salvation, knowledge is salvation. Salvation is knowledge. And actually, where was it? Let me pull up something real quick. This is actually really fascinating. Theosophy. Here we go. Do you know the saying of theosophy? So they have like an emblem. That emblem, it is, have you ever seen the Ouroboros? It's the snake eating its tail.
I think so.
Okay. I actually have the tattoo right here. You can kind of see like that's the snake head, and it's eating its own tail. Okay. Inside of that, they have it's a six-sided triangle. It's a six-sided star essentially. And then inside of that, they have an ankh, and we'll get into what all of that means. But around the emblem, around the logo of theosophy, it literally says, there is no religion higher than truth. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. There is nothing higher than truth. And actually here next month, we're going to be getting one of my favorite podcasters ever, somebody who I've looked up to for the better part of a decade, if not more. His name is Crow777. He's fucking awesome. This guy is a literal G, bro. Like, this guy knows a lot of shit. And his catchphrase of his show is, belief is the enemy of knowing. Think about that. Belief. To believe something, you're blindly believing it. It's like whenever you were little, you believed in Santa, right? You had no proof. Your parents told you, other kids told you. You believed in it. You never saw Santa coming down a fucking chimney. You never saw Santa putting presents underneath the tree, but you believed it because every time you woke up on Christmas morning, there was presents underneath that Christmas tree. So you kind of just put two and two together and you're like, okay, well, Supposedly there's a guy that brings presents and he brings them on Christmas Day. You wake up, there's presents down there. Must have been Santa, right? But it's your belief that filled in the gaps. You didn't know that it was Santa. And as a matter of fact, you were wrong in your belief because it was your parents or your guardians, whoever loved you or whatever, right? And so belief is the enemy of knowing. It's not to say the belief is bad, because actually we'll see as time goes on, the more that, you pick up on a lot of this stuff, the belief is actually a tool, and you can use belief as a tool to manifest like awesome things. It's actually really crazy. But your belief is essentially your power, but to blindly believe anything is to never know it. So, anyway, anything else you want to go on there, sir?
I'm good, man.
All right. Well, that was a fun episode. And let me think. You know what? I think we're going to save the meditation. It's getting pretty late. It's like 12:30 in the morning over here. But this is something that, I want us to be able to continue on. I want us to be able to learn more and more and more about, because once you can understand and access the higher realms within yourself, you start to understand and access what the rest of the world is truly doing and everything, and what it means to be alive. And, you learn to be grateful for every moment that you are alive, because it shines a light on the things that you didn't know existed. Like, imagine you could know your higher self, or you can know your lower guardian angel, or your higher guardian angel, or your spirit guides, or your ancestors, or you pick up psychic abilities, or you learn to start fucking levitating, or you pick up the ability to have the strength of 100 men, or whatever the case may be. Like, that's way more cool than watching fucking Netflix all day. Like, what a waste of time whenever you could be working on your superpower. Like, it's awesome. So that being said, hopefully you guys really appreciated this. If you want to be able to follow the show, come over to patreon.com/metamystics. That link is in the website link down below. Onlymystics.com will give you access to Patreon, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. You'll have access to how you can reach out to us, access if you want to reach out for a past life regression, whatever you want. Maybe you just have an idea for a show that you want us to dig into. Let us know over there. That would be the best way to be able to do so. Also, if you could leave a comment, if you're listening on Spotify, if you leave a comment, it really helps the algorithm and promotes the show to other people who have maybe never heard of this show before. If you're on Apple Podcasts, it does the same. Every time you leave a 5 stars or you leave a review, it really helps promote the show to people who have never heard of this kind of stuff. And that's all we're trying to do. Also, go and check out our YouTube channel, dude. We post all the shows over there on YouTube as well. The show is quietly growing over there. It's growing every day. I see more and more subscribers. So if you want to go and actually watch the show, you can do it over there. But the best way to be able to support the show is Patreon. Patreon.com/metamystics. There's several different tiers over there, but for $3.33 per month, I mean, you're literally paying us like, I don't know, 20 cents per episode or 25 cents. I don't know. I'm bad at math right now. It's late, but it's not a lot. And so you get access to all of those shows completely commercial free, days in advance of it coming out on Spotify or Apple, and actually weeks in advance of it coming out on YouTube. So if you want to go and check all that out, we'd really appreciate it. It really helps support the dream that we have over here of doing this every single day. This is what we want. So go and check it out. And I appreciate everybody who has already done so. That being said, Cody, any parting words for you, sir?
Dude, it has been an honor to be on here and to start this journey with you. I can't wait to, boom, open it up.
That's
and
it.
Go.
Yes. Well, look, Cody, you did a great job today. Thank you for coming and joining on this journey. And hopefully you guys can give them a little bit of applause out there. So shout out. Please. Thank you. But look, this is where we leave you. But what we want to say here is that if Rudolph Steiner came here and he taught you anything, it's that you don't know what you don't know. So don't just get weird. Stay weird.